so stay standing up for a second. I want to make sure I've got the right information for the right audience this morning. And so if you or someone you know or love has been affected by diabetes, go ahead and sit down. If you or someone you know or love has been affected by heart disease, go ahead and sit down. Cancer, go ahead and sit down. So look around. So if today you walk away knowing exactly how to prevent these deadly diseases, you know the most relevant, the most up-to-date, the most natural way to prevent these deadly diseases, raise your hand if that'd be a good outcome for today. Awesome. So that's exactly what we're going to be covering today. So I'm excited. There's been about 100 man-hours that have gone into preparation for this seminar. I think this is a seminar that we prepared for more than any other, and we're going to talk about today we're going to talk about natural ways and natural solutions for health problems. We're going to talk about ways to make sure you never get it, because how many of you know right now that it's easier to prevent than it is to reverse? Yes? Yeah, and so the idea today is for you to walk away and be confident and certain in the lifestyle behaviors that you're having right now to make sure that you're never going to end up being a statistic. 5 out of 6 Americans right now are dying of either heart disease or cancer. Diabetes is on the rise. I'm going to show you how Alzheimer's has now surpassed prostate and breast cancer combined. And we need to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that doesn't end up being one of us. And so, as we go throughout this, I was a personal trainer before I became a doctor of chiropractic, and you can see who gets the best results. And today, how many of you want the best results? Yes? So if today's, we're trying to bring 100% value to every single minute of this experience today, if that's the case, if there's going to be value at 100% of the information, how much of that do you want to absorb? 10%, 20%, or closer to 100%? 100%. So the way that you get the best results is to fully participate. And as a personal trainer, I would see people coming into the gym, and I would notice this. 2 people would walk into the same gym. They'd have the same body, they'd have the same goals, the same gym, the same equipment. One person would work out hard the entire time. The other person would just kind of sit and watch and look at the TV and take breaks. Who's going to get the best results? The person who watches, the person who participates? The person who participates. So do I have your participation this morning? Yes? Say yes if I do. Okay, so here's what that looks like. On this sheet inside that you were given your talk notes, go ahead and hold this up for me. Just make sure that everyone got this. So on the front it says we need to get moving, and at the top it says Max Living. So this right here, this is your notes section, and as you go through this follows along with the talk itself. You'll see that there is a Summer Shape 30-day prep challenge. We're going to be covering that as we go, but one of the first things I want you to write down on this notes page, there's not a section for it, but go ahead and write it down at the top. Information informs, taking action transforms. Information informs, taking action, what? Transforms. So, this can be just another seminar where you show up and it's just more information. Or this can be a seminar where you plug away and you take full action on this and you see your life change, because right now we're either moving towards health and wellness and vitality, or we're moving towards sickness, disease, nursing homes, and early death. We make hundreds of decisions every single day that move us one way or the other. And how many of you know we want to move towards health? Yes? And so the idea today is not necessarily for you to be overwhelmed with the information and the content and what do I need to change first? The idea today is that you pick the 1, 2, or 3 areas that you know you need to work on. You walk away from this and take what? You take massive action. And that's the idea of today. If you're a guest here, welcome. We're so glad that you are here and joining us this morning. We're going to give you the opportunity to plug into this culture of Max Living, come into the office, get analyzed and get checked, ultimately become a patient in our office. But how many of you know right now, are we healthy or are we sick as a nation? We're sick. And so, one of the best ways to change that is not by trailblazing. I shot a video, some of you saw it this morning, about trailblazing. And what that means to trailblaze is to try to figure this whole thing out on your own. That is not the keys to success. Really, the keys to success is to not innovate on your own when it comes to you losing 20 pounds, you get in the best shape of your life. Maybe it's that you want to reverse disease today. Don't try to trailblaze and figure this whole thing out on your own. That is not a key to success. The key to success is not to innovate, it's to imitate. So you imitate those who have gone before you, who have been successful in this. And that's one of the reasons we're going to share stories as we go throughout this, so that you can really see not only success and what that looks like, people who have been able to reverse disease, get off of their medications, lose tons of weight, but we also believe stories matter. And we stand on the shoulders of people who have already gone before us and who have already been successful at this. And so the reason why we tell stories is so that you can see what that looks like, and also that you're given hope. Because we exist to be a place where people are given hope. And that's what we want for you today. So I'm going to bring up Alex. Alex, when I, come on up here. When I first met Alex, and if you would give him the microphone, please. When I first met Alex, it was via Lori. Lori's your wife, yes?
Yes.
Yes. So he came to the seminar in January. The date was what?
January 13th.
January 13th.
Excuse me, January 13th, Saturday.
January 13th, a Saturday. So why did you show up to the seminar? And be candid with them. Who brought you, or who made you come?
Well, nobody made me come, but Lori, you know, I'm Lori's husband, and Lori, what she does, I pretty much follow. She's a wonderful woman, and
yes.
I can't say a lot of what I am is because of her.
Yes.
So I support her, and so she was involved, and I follow her.
Yes, and he just got a lot of brownie points for that one too. So you came on the 12th, and you had a goal. What was your goal?
Well, my goal, I've been listening on and off. My goal was to get off medication and to lose weight. I was frustrated with losing weight. I've gone through cycles of losing weight, not losing weight. Work has been pretty stressful. So for I've gone through it 2 or 3 years, and at the session here on that Saturday, the 13th, I listened to the stories, and I was ready. I was ready to do it. So I made the decision on that Monday, January 15th, to do the advanced plan. Mm-hmm. And I could not do the advanced plan by myself because I needed Lori to help me with the food prep and all those issues.
Well, and that's accountability too, just so you know. They had done research on this, and those who have an accountability partner, they're 90% more successful at reaching their goals. So today you need an accountability partner. It's one of the reasons I brought Alex up here to show you that. So you took action on Monday. You went right away, and since then, so that was January 14th. Since January 14th, how much weight have you lost?
I've lost around 20
pounds, and then what medication are you off of?
I'm off the primary one, the simvastatin.
Yeah, the statin, which is a cholesterol-lowering medication. How many of you know somebody, you yourself, has been on a cholesterol-lowering medication? Okay, and so there has to be a plan of attack if you're wanting to reverse that or get off of it, and everyone's going to be different. But the plan of attack that he chose, start the advanced plan, start on Monday, and I'll talk a little bit about procrastination and how that's a threat to you reaching your goals. What the idea is just to show up and then implement and take what? Action, right? And so he's a good example of that. Off of the medications, down almost 20 pounds. Go ahead and give him a hand for that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you. Now, the second person I want to bring up is Katie. And you know, Katie, when we first met, Katie had terrible sciatic pain. She was, come on up, Katie. She had terrible sciatic pain. She'd have difficulty. She'd try to mow her grass, and she'd have to stop every 5 minutes and take a break for 2 minutes because just such terrible pain and discomfort and really not happy. Would you agree with that statement? Really not happy at the time?
Yeah, when I'm in pain, I'm extremely unhappy. And, yeah, I won't be
Come on out here. You're good.
The word I want to say. Yeah, I'm not a real pleasant person to be around when I'm in pain.
Okay, and so we met you, and you just started living the 5 essentials. Now, I want to describe a couple things because I was on the phone with her yesterday, and she was telling me, you know, you not only were you frustrated, but you were upset. You were sleeping for how long?
Between 12 and 15 hours a night.
Yeah, and then when you wake up, what would you do to kind of dull the pain or?
Take pain meds, alcohol, drugs, self-medicate, whatever, just to try to that's how you get through mental and physical pains if you don't know what to do.
Yeah, so you were on a sleeping medication, a psychotropic drug, you were on a pain medications, yes?
Yeah, and the one I was on was marketed as an antidepressant, but it was more what I used it for was like a patient's pill almost. Because everybody annoyed me. Everything got on my nerves. Everything made me mad. The dog was in the way. Everything just made me mad.
Yep.
I'm not like that anymore.
And you weren't able to work at the time, correct?
No, because
So
sitting in a chair for hours
Yep.
was horrible, and activity, horrible. Everything was horrible.
now fast forward to you show up, you implement the essentials, you get adjusted, you do the nutrition, you do everything to a T. Well, correct me on that. You didn't do everything to a T. Be straightforward with them.
Oh no, I have cheat days, and they involve not great choices. My favorite is Five Guys Cajun fries dipped in Donato's cheese. My friend Mary has gotten it for me twice. I love her for that.
That's why she brought her here. Accountability. We're gonna do this thing together.
That's like twice a month, maybe
Yeah.
3 times a month, maybe. But I've done the grass-fed meats. I don't, you are not just what you eat, you're what your food eats. So like, I didn't know why.
Ooh, that's a writer downer.
Why is tilapia bad? It's a fish, Well, it's farm raised. It's eating the bottom of the barrel. Then you're eating that.
That's right.
I didn't realize why you shouldn't eat pork. I just thought because it's a fatty meat. I didn't realize pigs didn't sweat, so all those toxins are stuck in the meat, and then you're eating it, and then it's in your body.
I think you just cut 5 minutes out of Scott's talk. No, it's good. It's good. You could summarize through that part, right? No, it's good. So fast forward. So now here you are today. So I know the thing is not weight loss, but that's the thing that most people recognize about what's happened with you. How much weight have you lost?
61 pounds.
61 pounds. But you told me that wasn't the main thing. That was almost like a side effect, right? A side effect of being healthy.
That wasn't even on my chart when I came in to see you guys. The debilitating sciatic pain, other back pain, but the sciatic was debilitating.
Yeah.
Affected daily life. And the other thing was I have, people pronounce it differently, tinnitus or tinnitus in my ears, severe ringing. And after I got the x-rays and the SEMGs and everything, you guys had told me that top vertebrae, I have what everybody called text neck, like that. Because everything you do, you're looking down, dishes, whatever you're doing, most likely you're looking down.
You got it.
So that top vertebrae was sticking into my spinal column, into my brainstem, which was probably causing a lot of that screeching in my ears.
It was.
And
now how's that now?
It's not 100% gone, but it is to a point where it's totally livable.
Awesome.
I used to not be able to even have a conversation with somebody because I don't even hear what you're saying, because all I hear is the screeching in my ear.
So now you're off of those medications,
I'm off
right?
of every medication.
Awesome. Every medication. That's awesome. And what's life look like? So when I met your friend today, she said she goes, I've got my what? I got my friend back.
She got her friend back.
Yeah, she got her friend back. Give her a hand for that. Awesome. Good, Katie. Thank you.
All right.
And so actually, no, come back up, because I do want one. You looked at me like there's more. There is more.
No, I didn't. No,
but I want to ask you.
I'm so nervous. I deal with four-legged things. I work with dogs, not people, for a reason. So on the way here, I literally thought I was going to barf in my car.
You're doing a good job, just so you know, like a great job, right? Is she doing a good job? If you could go back and send a message 10 years ago to the version of Katie 10 years ago, in relation to this subject, health, what would you say to the younger version of Katie?
Oh God, everything they taught me was wrong. I would say, live the life of prevention rather than what we're taught. We're taught run for a cure. Mm-hmm. Why are we running for prevention? Mm-hmm. We are feeding into it with everything. The food pyramid was taught to me wrong. Mm-hmm. So everything I knew was wrong. Mm-hmm. Eat breads, eat pastas, they make you healthy.
That's right.
They're killing me. So I would tell myself, don't drink, don't take the prescription drugs. My mother now has a heart disease where she's now didn't take care of herself. She's 73 years old, and I'm having to watch 3 73-year-old people, ironically all the same age, who did not take care of themselves their whole lives right now, and their bodies are just giving up on them. They didn't take care of themselves. So that is just smacks me in the face when I see 3 people I love just. It's because they've eaten boxed macaroni and cheese, and they've eaten, hormone-filled cow milk. And I know a lot of people don't. Cow milk's great for you. No, but I'm not going to get into that.
You can cut that section out too, Doc.
Oh yeah, no, I won't elaborate on that. But Scott's like, get off the stage.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah, I wouldn't self-medicate. I wouldn't. I would live a healthier lifestyle. I wish I would have had more nutrition classes when I was younger. I majored in beer and boys when I was in college. So priorities were different then.
Give her a hand, beers and boys. That's good. So How many of you can relate to Katie a little bit there? Yeah, Beers and Boys, maybe not that one, but everything else. But the reality is that, you rank all the countries based off of health right now. If everything we were doing that she was talking about was working, we'd be the healthiest planet on the country. If all the answers to all of our health problems were more drugs, were more doctors in bigger hospitals, we'd have the healthiest country on the planet. But when you rank all the countries based off of health, the industrialized countries, we rank dead last, the United States does. And you really think about this, we're 5% of the world's population, yet we take 70 to 80% of the world's drugs. And so as Hoosiers now, when you rank Indiana based on the United States and the other states, are we ranking high or low as far as health? Low. So we're 5th from the bottom. So quite literally, look around, we are the sickest of the sickest. And the reality is that if we don't change, and we look around, it might look normal to have sickness and disease and be put on medications and be put on psychotropic drugs. That might seem normal to you. It's just common here. Do you see the difference? Common does not equal normal. And if you look at it, right now heart disease has gone up, diabetes has gone up. You're looking at Alzheimer's surpassing certain types of cancers combined. So the reality is if we don't change now, the likelihood of us having different outcomes is slim and none. And so we have to change and we have to make our lives look radically different. And the reality is that 95 to 98% of these things we're talking about are completely preventable. That is not a Dr. Wilson statistic. That is Columbia School of Health. 95 to 98% of these things are not genetic. And that's good news for all of us because raise your hand if you have bad genes. Every hand goes up. Let's do it again. Raise your hand if you have bad genes. Every hand should go up. Let's do it one more time. Raise your hand if you have bad genes. Every hand goes up. We all have them. We're Americans. It's the reality is that our genes are all bad. We all have those bad genes. It's how we live our life that predicts if the genes are going to turn on or turn off. So we have to change our mindset when it comes to these things. And, some of us, we have a lot of shoulds in our life. Like, I know I should exercise, or I should go and eat organic food, or I know I should stop going through the drive-through. And, a lot of these shoulds, at the end of the day, we look back and we're like, man, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have, stopped eating the donut instead of the apple. And we look back at our lives and we should have all over ourselves and we have crap to show for it. Am I right or not? And so we need to change. Our shoulds need to turn into a must. I have to change. I must change. There's a line in the sand that is drawn, and I'm going to change, and it starts when? Now. And so, when it comes to genes, we have to stop lying to ourselves on this. When you look at the agouti mice, and medicine has always used the agouti mice as the poster child for the bad genes. And so the agouti mice are the ones who are always heavy, they're obese, they're a different color, they're yellow, they develop tumors more frequently, they develop diabetes more frequently. And this has been the poster child from medicine to say, hey, look, these guys are always fat, sick, and barely living. And so what happened, though, is one of the researchers questioned this theory, which it is a theory, genetic theory of disease. And he questioned it, and what he did is he took the pregnant mice, and he replaced their nutrition with methyl groups and highly methylated foods, which means the good, healthy foods, green leafy vegetables, things like that. What happened is their offspring all started to come out like this. No longer yellow, no longer fat, not developing diabetes, and not developing tumors. And what they found from that is it's not about the genes, it's how the gene is expressed. And so I want you to know today that 95 to 98% of the diseases that we suffer with, the chronic ones that we're dealing with here in America, they are preventable. Based on how you live, you can turn those genes on or turn them off based on what you do. We make hundreds of decisions every day, and they're either moving towards this guy right here, the heavier mouse, or the one who's the lighter mouse, that's genes are expressed fully. And that's really what we want, is we want the full expression of our genetic potential. And so if you've been told, your genes are the cause of your sickness, you've been lied to. It's not your genes, it's you. It's not your genes, it's your decisions. And on the count of 3, we're all going to say, you've been lied to. 1, 2, 3. You've been lied to. More than that, do a karate chop with it. 1, 2, 3. You've been lied to. You've been lied to when it comes to these things. It's not your genes, it's your decisions that predict your outcome. And I find, I speak to patients and I hear them say things like, I wish I was more disciplined. I wish I had more willpower. And, if willpower and discipline were the keys to success, we'd all struggle. How many of you are perfect? Raise your hands. Right. So if willpower was the key, we'd all be in trouble. And what the research is now showing is that willpower is an exhaustible resource. It's an exhaustible resource. And they've done studies on this, several. One of the ones that I like the best is they took a group of college students. They made them fast for 12 hours before the study. And when the guys came in, so picture this, college students, do college students eat or not eat? They usually eat, unless it might be ramen noodles, but they eat. And they come in to the study, they're hungry. Now they have freshly baked cookies and candy on one side of the table, and they have a bowl of fresh radishes on the other side of the table. In one group, they had them eat the radishes. The other group, they had them eat the freshly baked cookies and candy. Now, it was one table. These guys sat across, and they got to see and watch the people and smell the freshly baked cookies being eaten while they snacked on their rabbit food. So here's what happened is they did a study immediately after, and they gave both groups an unsolvable algorithm, a geometric algorithm, and they said, here, solve this. What happened is that the ones who ate the radishes gave up 3 times faster than those who ate the cookies and the candy. And what their outcome, what they determined by this, is that willpower alone, just sitting there and just, I want the cookie, I can't have the cookie, I want the cookie, I can't have the cookie, that is an exhaustible resource. And at the end of the day, it causes you to give up easier and more often in other areas of your life. And they also studied in certain situations, they would put somebody in a hostile environment. So maybe as a crowd like this and there's hecklers, and they had to bite their tongue from talking back to the heckler, right? And so then they'd give them the same, maybe this one was a physical activity, and see how long they'd put up with a physical activity, and the same thing would happen. They'd give up about 3 times faster than the other ones who were able to respond. They also did a study of mother-in-laws. It's interesting. Mine's here. I love mine, right? But they'd put them in the situation where they'd have to bite their tongue a lot. Maybe it's religion or politics or something that they'd have to bite their tongue, and then they'd study them, and they'd always have a different outcome based off of the willpower. Now, is that a permission slip to eat the candy and cookies? No, it's not the permission slip to eat the candy and cookies. It's that you have to be attached to something bigger than just saying, nope, deprivation, I'm not going to do it. There has to be something bigger than that. And I have a good example of that with Jay. As a personal trainer, I would meet with clients, and I had done hundreds of these consultations at this point when I was meeting with Jay. Picture Jay. He is a construction worker. He's 6'2", he's 325 pounds. He's got this big red beard, right? Overalls. He showed up to his first consultation in overalls to a gym, right? And so this is the guy sitting across the table from me, and I'm doing my typical questions like, why, what do you hope to get out of this? What is your goal for yourself? And he would just do one of these the whole time. He's just, I don't know my goal. I don't know why I'm here. And so I asked him, I said, so, well, tell me, then why are you here? And he said, well, to tell you the truth, my wife made me come. She signed me up for this appointment. And then in my youthful eagerness, I'm less refined, I guess, maybe is a better thing, but I was like, so are you here for your wife or you? That didn't go well. That didn't land with Justin. You ever see the cartoon where the smoke comes out of the ears and the fire in the eyes? I'm like, this guy's going to reach across here and just punch me. I feel it coming. Or he's going to walk out. Either way, this is not going to work. And he just kind of sat there, and he kind of looked down for a second, and he looked back up. He goes, you know what? I'm here for me, and here's the reason why. He said, my dad was heavy. He died in his 50s. He said, my uncles, they're all heavy. They died in their 50s. My brother, he was just recently diagnosed with cancer. He said, I'm not going to let that be me, and I'm not going to do that to my kids. That's what I call having a compelling why behind. Katie mentioned the 73-year-olds, and she's like, I don't want to end up there. Well, that hit her, that struck her, and that's now a compelling reason and motivation for her doing this lifestyle change and sticking with it. Now, what most people don't talk about is this part right here with Jay, is that his brother was diagnosed with cancer 9 months ago. And so for 9 months, he knew that he should start working out. He should come to the gym. So for 9 months, he literally was just kind of sitting back and saying, I'm going to. It's going to happen Monday. Monday never came for 9 months. And that's called the law of diminishing intentions. The law of diminishing intentions. And we call that the Lodi monster, And the law of diminishing intentions is that you need to do something, and you have full intentions on doing that, but you put it off till Monday. And then Monday never came. And I like this. 5 frogs are sitting on a log, 4 decide to jump off. How many are left? Everyone answer?
5.
How did you know the answer to that? Yes, 5 are still sitting on a log. Why? Because there's a difference between deciding and doing. There's a difference between just thinking about it and actually doing it. And those of you who got that, that is amazing. That's incredible. No one usually answers that correctly. It's usually a resounding 1. So the reality is that that we have to change and take action. Joy, I have a patient, Joy, who has lost 200 pounds over the course of her lifetime, but she still weighs the same. Anybody ever know that person? Yo-yo dieters, right? They'll lose 20 in the winter and gain it back in the summer. So this was Joy, and she sat in a seminar just like this, and at the end, she came up to me. She's like, I'm in. I'm drawing the line in the sand. I'm never going back. I am going to do this now. I am totally in. She's inspired by the seminar. Well, 6 months later, I just happened to see her. I said, Joy, how's it going? And she's like, what? I'm like, hi. You know, the thing we talked about 6 months ago. And she's like, oh, actually, I gained 5 pounds. She forgot we even had the conversation. And the reality is inspiration is fleeting. Motivation is fleeting. And, you know, we had a conversation about having a strong why. And you have to have a strong why behind what you're doing. Now, that's going to look different for everyone. At first, you may just want to lose 20 pounds. You might just want to look better in your clothes. Like, you just might want your dress to fit better. And that's okay to start with, but there's got to be a different motivating factor that keeps you going on a day in and day out basis. Sometimes we make this whole big why thing too much more than what it really is. You know, that same person, Joy, I met with her, and I said, here's what you do. For every day that you work out, you want to work out, yes, it's not happened, right? She's like, nope, it's not happened. I said, so here's what you do. You get a calendar. Every day you work out, you put a giant X. You put those X's on your calendar, and you start a stream, and you start a chain. And the idea is to never break the chain. How many of you have heard this before? Don't break the chain. And so Jerry Seinfeld coined this. He's a comedian, and at the beginning of each year, he wanted to come up with new content. And this is what he would do, is he'd just mark an X, and he'd try not to break the chain. That's how he'd come up with new content every single year. And Joy did this, and now she's over 150 days of straight exercise where she's not missed a single day. And if you talk to her, I asked her, so why did you do that? Like, what? I would like to know your motivation. Is it because you wanted to make sure you were a mom for your family and make sure you're not preventing cancer, or you're not getting cancer and heart disease? Like, what's your main motivating factor? And she's like, nope. It's not about my kids. It's not about me never getting cancer. That's too far out. That's like esoteric. I can't really picture myself getting cancer anyway. The reason why I did it, because after 30 days, I started telling people that I was doing it. And they started asking questions like, what day was I on? And I'd start to answer. I was on day 47. I was on day 52. And they would ask these questions. And sure enough, it became easier to just go ahead and get up in the morning and work out than it would be to tell everyone that I had been telling that I'm a failure, that I'm no longer doing this anymore. And she goes, yeah, some of the side effects are like, I can see new muscles, which is cool. You know, my pictures of my old self look vastly different than my new self. All of these things are good side effects, but at the end of the day, I just made a commitment. And that's the point, is that you make a commitment, you draw a line in the sand, and you choose just to never go back. And some of you are here because you want to lose weight. Some of you are not here. You know, listen, it's not about weight loss, it's about weight optimization. Be at your absolute best. You know, some of you have lost 70 pounds. Some of you have lost 90 pounds already. Some of you have got off multiple medications already. It's about being at your best, staying at your best. Weight loss is a naughty word in our office. We don't like that word, weight loss, because what's the point? A lighter coffin or health? Right? It's not about weight loss. There's a lot of gimmick that you can get packages in the mail and help you to lose some weight. And at the end of the day, those are fleeting. And most people who do those things go back. When you lose the weight and the weight loss is the goal, what do you typically do? Party, right? You party. And what comes back? The weight comes back. So how do you prevent that from happening? Don't make it about weight loss. Make it about being at your absolute best. Weight loss is going to have to be a side effect. If one of your goals is weight loss, you'll notice during this program, we don't talk about calories in versus calories out. We're not going to talk about that at all, because the reality is weight loss is not about that. It's about hormones. How do you get your hormones working for you and not against you? Everything that we're going to talk about today with the nutrition and the toxicity and the fitness and the nervous system all plays a role in whether you are getting healthy and well and losing the weight and your hormones are balanced and increasing your metabolism or going against it. We're going to go through what that is, and we're going to talk about that through the 5 essentials. The 5 essentials of max living. There's nothing outside of the 5 essentials. Here's your script to get well. Here's your script to never get cancer. Here's your script to never get heart disease. Here's your script to not get the flu this year. There's nothing outside of the essentials, the core essentials of life, for you to get well. And so nutrition is obvious. Toxicity is obvious. Fitness is obvious. We know these things. Core chiropractic, making sure your nervous system is functioning at its absolute best. You make sure that your mindset is right. If you think yourself sick, you are. If you think yourself well, you have potential. And so at the end of the day, there's nothing outside of here. Health is not complicated. Health is simple. Health is not buried in the belly of a whale deep down in the ocean where we're never going to find it, or some jungle in Africa that we have to go search for it and we have to extract it, put it into a pill, and that's how we get healthy. Health is already inside of you. The greatest doctor in the world lives inside of you. The greatest practitioner in the world is already built in. That doctor needs no help, just no interference. Remove the interference. That's what we're going to be covering today, and that's how ultimately you get well, you stay well. True prevention happens through this. And so as Dr. Scott's going to come up here, I could talk a lot about his credentials and who he is and how he's an authority on nutrition in this area. Him and his wife, Andrea, are just amazing when it comes to these topics. He's going to go through all the nuts and bolts and the how-tos and the why-nots of nutrition, and I could go through the certifications and all that stuff, but what I really want to talk about is the man that he is. I've worked with him for almost 3 years now, and how many of you know when you work with somebody 40 hours a week, you get to know him pretty well, yes? And so, I probably spend more time with Scott than I do my family, and I get to see who he really is as a man, and as a friend, I just respect him so much, and just heart of gold the guy is, and just so committed. Just recently we had a patient who had a baby in the hospital and some complications with the baby, and Scott, he heard about the complications. He drove an hour one way to see this baby, and in the hospital adjusted the baby, goes back home. That Monday night, after a long night in the office, 8:30 at night, he drives the same drive and sees this baby again to make sure everything's going well. And, he has a family at home. He's got 2 kids. This was 8:30 at night to drive that. He could have just decided to show up Tuesday morning, but he didn't, because that's the type of person that Scott is. He's a committed person. He's an amazing doctor. He's a great friend of mine. And help me welcome to the stage, Dr. Scott Robinson.
But when we look at the pyramid and we look at how we've been taught to live and how we've been taught to eat, we really have been lied to. And when you look at what's down at the bottom, the grains and the breads and the pastas, if we're living like that, if we're living like everybody else, we're going to end up where everybody else ends up. As we go through this, we're going to talk about the nutrition portion of this. Obviously, this is the nutrition. But looking at this, if we just continue to do what everybody else does, we're not going to get the great results that we want. We literally have to flip the pyramid upside down. You have to flip it upside down. Grain should be the least amount of stuff that you consume. If you look at the bottom portion of this pyramid on my left, that's what the advanced plan looks like. You have water at the bottom, you have vegetables, you have fats. You're eating foods that are literally going to contribute to health and wellness instead of spiking insulin, leading to inflammation, and ultimately building disease. One of my best friends, Adam, I've known him my entire life. We met when I was 11 years old. He was getting ready to apply to the police academy. He was trying to get into good shape. He's like, man, I've been working out consistently. I've been running. I've been exercising. I'm watching my calories. Like, I'm not eating bad stuff, and I feel like I'm stabilizing at the same weight, and I can't get past that plateau. So who knows that it's sometimes difficult to tell a friend the truth? Raise your hand. Even if you've known them your entire life. So I sit down and I say, okay, walk me through what your day looks like when you eat. He's like, well, I wake up and I eat some oatmeal and I have some whole wheat toast, because I know whole wheat toast is really good for you, and oatmeal is heart healthy. I'm like, okay, keep going. And for lunch, I have a sandwich, but it's only half a sandwich. And usually I'll eat some vegetables with that. I'm like, okay. What does dinner look like? He said, well, normally I'll do some rice, brown rice though, because brown rice is good for you. And I'm like, okay, so what do you drink during the day? He's like, well, I have coffee in the morning, but I don't put any sugar in it. Okay. And then I do have an energy drink in the afternoon because I get tired, but that energy drink, it's sugar-free. And as we're going through this, I'm like, I need to tell you something. I don't know how to tell you this, but Everything you're eating is sugar. And the stuff that you're eating that's not sugar has fake sugar in it. So the oatmeal turns directly to sugar in the bloodstream. The whole wheat toast, that's directly into sugar. When we talk about the half sandwich, well, that's sugar too. The sugar-free energy drink that you drink, first of all, you shouldn't need that mid-afternoon, but the fact that you're drinking that and it has aspartame in it, that's a fake sugar, and that's causing issues as well. What you need to do is eat more fat. He said, okay, well, I can eat more fat. I said, and the other thing you need to do is no grains, none, no grains. He's like, well, what about beer? Well, beer is grains too, so you have to cut out beer too. Only if you want to reach your goal. If you don't want to reach your goal, you can keep drinking beer, you can keep eating bread, keep eating the brown rice, like keep doing all the stuff that you're doing. But if you really want to reach this goal, this is what you have to do. He said, well, I don't know if I can do all of it, but I will stop doing grains and I will stop doing the energy drinks. I'll do beer every once in a while, but he's going to stop it for the most part. 6 months in, he's down 70 pounds. And the last time I saw him last weekend in Kansas City, and I'm talking to him and knowing that this is coming up, and I'm like, is it okay if I talk about you? One, he's not here, so it's okay. But two, you were just going to do this for a temporary basis. Why did you keep going? And he said, well, once I started getting successful, once I started seeing that, man, I really don't need the grains all the time. I really don't need the energy drink in the afternoon because my energy is not crashing because I'm actually putting good foods in. He's like, I just kept going. And that's the goal. You've got to keep going, but you've got to have a firm foundation of where to start. And flipping that food pyramid is really where you got to start. So inflammation is really the biggest issue that sugars and bad fats and things like that cause. Inflammation is the lead cause of heart disease. It's the underlying cause of cancer. It's the underlying cause to your hormone issue, the reason why you can't lose that weight, even when you exercise, even when you, in quotations, eat right. Inflammation is the biggest reason why you hold on to that extra weight around the midsection. Inflammation. So when we talk about things that cause inflammation, we're talking about the bad fats. We're talking about grain-fed meat. We're talking about the peanut oils and the safflower oils. We're talking about canola oil. We're talking about toxicity. Those are the main things that lead to inflammation. So right around this time, most people, they're getting ready for the summer. And what do people do in the summertime? They get outside, right? But we're at the beach, we're at the lake. And this is also around the time where we start trying on our shorts. Sometimes they fit, sometimes they don't. Swimming suits are a big one this time of year. And when you haven't been taking care of yourself in the right way for most of the year, and your clothes don't fit quite right, what is the first thing that you think, man, I'm going to start a what? I'm going to start a diet. Show of hands, who's done a diet before? Any kind of diet? Said, I'm going to watch my diet. I actually follow through with the diet. So most people have done some sort of diet before. And when we look at diets, they don't work, right? So they did research on it and they realized that most people actually gain more weight when they do a diet. So they'll do a diet for a period of time, they'll lose weight, and then they get bored with it. They run out of that motivation factor. And then they end up gaining all of the weight back and then some. And the reason for that is because we just don't have the motivation to keep going. We run out of motivation like Dr. Wilson was talking about, but we also go about it all the wrong way. We should be looking at this as a lifestyle, not just a short-term thing. I'm going to change this, I'm going to implement it, and I'm never going to go back. That's the difference between somebody who's successful and somebody that's not. The other issues that we've been lied to. Who's been told that you should eat low fat? You should eat no fat. You should eat sugar-free stuff, and you never read the ingredients to see that they put all kinds of other stuff in it. So when I met my wife, and she gave me permission to talk about this as well, when I met my wife, she was into health and fitness quite a bit. She worked out every single day. She had a personal trainer 3 days a week. She ran, and when I say ran, she ran like multiple miles. If I run, it's going to be a sprint from here to there, and I'm going to take a break in between. But my wife would run 5 to 7 miles multiple times a week. I'm like, holy cow, like you're actually a runner. She didn't consider herself a runner, but she ran. And we go through, and I get to her house, and I look in her fridge, and she has Smart Ones for her meals. You guys know what Smart Ones are? It's like a healthy choice type thing. She's got Greek yogurt because Greek yogurt has low fat. And I start telling her some of these things, and I kind of tiptoed into it because you're dating somebody and it's new and you don't want to be that guy right off the bat. But it's like, okay, so your Greek yogurt is actually terrible for you. And she was just like blown away, like almost had a heart attack right in front of me. And I started to tell her, well, you should eat full fat yogurt. Holy cow, you would have thought that I told her that something crazy. Just completely off the wall. It just mind-numbingly ridiculous that anybody would eat full fat anything in order to lose weight or to be healthy. And at the end of the day, it's not about losing weight. As of Monday, we just had a baby. And as of Monday, she is still 20 pounds less than when I met her. 20, after a baby, after 2 babies actually. And it's because she changed the way that she processes food. She changed the way that she works through things. She changed the way that she eats. It's not about less fat. It's about giving your body stuff that it knows how to use, giving your body the proper energy to metabolize things properly, staying away from toxins, giving your body the right stuff to work the way it's supposed to. These are writer-downers. So if we know that diets don't work, and we know that inflammation is the cause of the majority of disease process, we have to know how to reduce inflammation. So write these down. Load up on greens. So we have to eat more vegetables, green leafy vegetables specifically. We absolutely have to switch to grass-fed beef. The ratios of the fat in grain-fed beef are completely off. Omega-6s to omega-3s. Have you guys heard of omega-6s, omega-3s? So omega-6s are primarily pro-inflammatory, and the majority of the foods that Americans eat are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. The right ratio should be approximately 2 to 1. Most Americans are running anywhere from 10 to 1 to 25 to 1 in their omega-6s to omega-3 ratios. That leads to a lot of inflammation. It leads to a lot of sickness in the long run. So once we switch to grass-fed beef, we need to increase our healthy fats, so things that are rich in omega-3s. Sunshine vitamin, you say examples? Who said that? Hi. So grass-fed beef is going to be one of them. Coconuts, avocados, raw nuts and seeds, avocado oil, olive oil, things like that. Sunshine vitamin, vitamin D3, and then cut sugar. Cut sugar. When we look at this, even ants know that they should be eating healthy fats. So we look at the top, there's one up at the top that died on the way to the healthy fat, which is butter. And I think there's one dead one in the reduced fat butter. But the majority of them, if you put this out in the woods, they're going to gravitate to the good stuff. Even animals know. This is a list of the bad fats on your left and the healthy stuff on the right. So that's going to be the omega-3 rich foods on the right-hand side. I'm going to take a second and talk about canola. Canola is one of my biggest pet peeves because I see commercials and they talk about heart healthy. They talk about how you should cook with canola oil because it's good for you. And as you go through that and you start doing research and you start looking into what canola is, does anybody know, is there a canola plant? Raise your hand. Canola plant, anyone? Okay. So it's actually made from genetically modified rapeseed oil. And they realized that that was a terrible name. So it comes from Canadian low acid, and they just shortened it up, and it's now canola. And they market it as something that's healthy for you. It's absolutely terrible. If you do nothing else today, I fully recommend that you do other things. But if you do nothing else, switch your fats. Switch your animal products to something that is not going to cause inflammation. When we're looking at decreasing inflammation, fat really holds the answer. We've talked about the ratios. We've talked about what they should be. You can't get enough bad fats out of your diet. The ratios are just way too far off at this point. That's why my family and I, we supplement with an omega. So we add omegas in. And when I talk to patients, they tell me, well, I take omegas for my heart. And omegas for your heart, that's a fantastic reason to take an omega. It absolutely is. But you have to make sure you're taking the right one. And you have to make sure that the omegas that you're taking, the supplements that you're taking, have all of the basic things. We're talking about essential fatty acids at this point. The ratios have to be right. So if you're going to go through the trouble of putting something into your body to help you, the ratios absolutely have to be right. Has to have ALA, EPA, and DHA in it, with the ratio of 1 to 1 to 1. The source is important, so making sure that you are getting it from small Pacific caught fish, lower toxicity. The Pacific Ocean is getting more toxic, but it's still much less toxic than the Atlantic. Should be a combination of flax oil and fish oil. So making sure that you have these things when you're looking at your supplements is important, especially with an omega-3. So Optimal Omega checks all those boxes. There's a reason that that's what my family takes. I know where it comes from. I know what it's made of. I know what it does when I put it into my body. How many of you guys get 20 to 30 minutes of sunshine every single day? Raise your hand. With the majority of your body exposed, keep your hand up. One person, 2 people, 3. Okay, great. Everyone else needs to be on a vitamin D supplement. Or you need to get out in the sun more often. When I lived and practiced in Florida, we would still have patients come in, like the Sunshine State, and they would still be deficient in vitamin D. Part of that is because of our standard for what vitamin D is. And part of it is we've just been told that the sun is going to kill us. So when we go out in the sun, we're covered up from head to toe. We have sunscreen on. And if we are out in the sun, we don't spend any significant time in the sun. So between 20 and 30 minutes of sunshine, that's the standard in order for us to have enough vitamin D in our body. Vitamin D is amazing. It regulates blood pressure, reduces inflammation, oxidative stress. It plays a huge role in that as well. But what happens if we don't have enough vitamin D? If we don't have enough vitamin D in our body, now they say the standard is a minimum of 20. If we fall below 20, you're talking about like rickets category. Rickets. Like when's the last time you met somebody with rickets? It's been a bit. But the majority of these diseases, as you go down the list, are in the mid-range of that category. The way I look at vitamin D when you do your testing, it's an ABCD range. You should be at least a minimum of 70, between 70 and 100, but a minimum of 70. They found that all causes of death increase as your vitamin D levels go down. All causes. We have patients that come in and they will text us or email us their supplements and they'll say, well, I'm not taking your supplement, but I want to know, is this supplement good? And so we'll look at lots of different supplements. And does anybody see it just right off the bat? Corn oil. You guys are great. I didn't even have to push that. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, so oftentimes they will put a carrier oil to help dissolve and absorb the vitamin D when you take it. Unfortunately, this one has corn oil, which is on the rancid oils list. That's why we recommend that you take your vitamin D with an optimal omega so that it helps with the absorption. Don't take terrible supplements. The worst supplements you take, you're spending good money after bad. The only supplement that works is the one that you absorb and the one that you actually get to use. Math test time. Bob has 36 candy bars. He eats 29. What does he have now? Diabetes. Bob has diabetes. Sugar feeds cancer. PET scans are one of the ways that they find cancer, and what they do is they attach a radioactive isotope to a sugar, and then they scan you. And the areas that you have cancer light up like a Christmas tree. The reason for that is because sugar is the primary fuel source for cancer. Primary fuel source. If you want to get sick very quickly, just increase the amount of sugar that you eat. Sugar as well as caffeine also burn out your adrenal glands. People come in and they're tired, they're sick all the time. They don't know why they get that mid-afternoon crash. It's because we burn our adrenals out. Trust me, I love coffee, maybe more than the next person, but you have to cycle some of that stuff through. Caffeine will literally kill your adrenal glands. Somebody raise their hand that doesn't have stress in their life. No stress, no stress. I want to get together later and figure that out. Okay, so everyone's stressed. Everyone has stress in their life. Stress and caffeine is a deadly combination to burn your adrenals out. And the more stress you go through, the quicker it happens. Common symptoms of adrenal fatigue, but you've got to find some way to help your body replenish from that. Amino acids, and then rhodiola, if I can speak today. Rhodiola is a supplement that helps you combat not only chemical stress, but physical stress. Leptin and insulin is the fountain of youth. If you can figure out how to regulate your leptin and insulin levels, they say that you age more slowly and that you're healthier in the long run. Insulin is the hormone that's released when you eat sugar. So anytime sugar is introduced into your system, the body releases insulin because the body knows that you can only have so much sugar in your blood at one time. It's absolutely toxic, and if it doesn't move it or do something to it, you'll die. So the body releases insulin. Insulin's job is to take sugar out of the blood and put it into the cells where it's safe. If there's too much for the body to use right away, it gets stored as fat. So insulin is a fat-storing hormone. Leptin is a fat-burning hormone. It tells us that we're hungry. It tells us that we need to get more energy into us. So that balance of leptin and insulin is extremely important as far as long-term health. How many people know that information is not going to just move the needle? If you have all of the right information in the world, if you don't do anything about it, absolutely nothing's going to change. How many people think that if Adam had done a version, said, well, I'm not going to eat oatmeal, but I'm going to continue to eat cold cereal, that he wouldn't have seen the 70-pound weight loss? How many people know that if he had said, well, I'm going to stop the sugar-free stuff, but I'm still going to drink beer daily, that he would not have seen the right results? So we have to go through the right process, and part of that is being taught what to do, and part of that is being followed up with. The people that get the best results, and I'm talking about anything now in life, they have somebody who's mentoring them, somebody who's coaching them, somebody who's showing them not only what they need to do, but the next steps. And they can tell you when you're messing up, and they can tell you what you need to fix, and what you need to correct, and what you need to move forward with. The best of everything have the best coaches. And anything you want to do big in life, you really have to have somebody coaching you through the mess ups, because nobody's perfect and everybody's going to mess up at some point. So coaching is essential. Dr. Wilson's going to come back up here.
Anybody ever felt like this where you need somebody to follow you around and just knock stuff out of your hands? I need that person to follow me in the grocery store and do that. Anybody ever felt like that before? So the reality is that we, none of us have this, and none of us should. But the concept is that, what we've seen with patients is that those people who just fully immerse themselves in the 5 essentials, those are the ones who get the best results. And the ones that we've seen, we've met with them and done nutrition consultations, and we've looked at their food log, and they may have thought that they were doing great, and then we look at their food log and then not so great. And we look at their supplements, they're like, I'm taking all the right supplements. We look at their supplements and we're like, nope, that one's toxic, that one's terrible, that one has bad oils, and this one's making you sick. And the reality is that we all have blind spots in our lives. How many of you know you have a blind spot when it comes to your health? Raise your hand if you know that about yourself. We all have them, including us. And the reality is that we need some help to kind of navigate this whole thing, because it is not, health is simple, but nutrition and the information and just the loads of information that's out there does make it a little bit convoluted, does make it a little bit complicated. And that's one of the reasons why we noticed that the people who were having direction, were having coaching, they understood how to navigate this better. These are the ones who were able to reverse disease, they were able to get off medications. There's a clear difference from those that we were meeting with and those that we weren't. And so that's the whole reason why we developed the MaxLiving Health Coaching Program. And this is a program that I lead, and Madeline, who's our senior health coach, go ahead and raise your hand, Madeline, wave at him, is implementing this health coaching program. And literally, it's a 4-step process, an intensive of consultations to go through what does your food look like right now, what does your nutrition look like. Let's customize this thing to make sure you're meeting your health goals. Let's point out where there's some fallacies or where there's some blind spots, and then let's make sure there's a plan of attack for this so that it's individualized, it's customized, and that you can meet your health goals for yourself. And so we have what's called the Life Risk Questionnaire, and in this Life Risk Questionnaire, we're able to determine if you're in in crisis mode when it comes to disease, maybe you're in pre-crisis mode, or maybe you're just doing well in these 8 categories of stress, and whether that's oxidative stress, whether that's inflammation, gastrointestinal stress, we're going to be able to look at that and say, okay, this is the area, this is where you need to focus. Here's how you change this to get the best opportunity and the best results. And so that's the whole reason why we developed this. Now, I was talking to a friend. I have many friends who own health centers around the country and several functional medicine friends, and I asked one of them, he has a clinic in Houston. We were in Nashville together, and I asked him, I said, so, here's this program, here's what it looks like, how much would you charge for something like this in your clinic? And just right away, without even thinking about it, he goes, that would start at $2,500 in my office. I said, okay. And, there's no judgment for those fees, and I think those are good fees, but really we want this information, we want this health coaching to be something that everyone can do. And so what we're doing is for this seminar, typically that cost is going to be $550 in our office for the health coaching program. But we're launching this at this seminar, and so we're doing a seminar pricing of $300 for that. Now, I want to be clear, because we have a capacity limitation, because it is just Madeline and I doing this, that we have a capacity of 10 for this specific seminar. And so we're only taking 10 for this specific seminar and for the seminar pricing. Now, if you get back there and you're the 11th, she'll put you on a wait list, and we can start that in June or July. And so what we're doing, this is only for our patients. So if you've come in, if you're a guest here today, we'll give you the opportunity to come in and be a patient, but this is only for our patients today. If you've already come in, you've had the testing done, you've had the analysis, we have your file, we know all about you, this is for you. And so, one other thing on the health coaching is that we're going to go through and navigate some areas that might be a little touchy, right? And you might think breakfast looks amazing, and then we might have to maybe tell you it's not so amazing. Does that make sense to you? And so just give us grace when we have those conversations, and just let's put everything on the table. Let's look and find out what areas of exposure do I have right now, and how do I mitigate my risk, and then how do I make sure that I live the life that I want and really hit my goals. And so that's what the health coaching program is for. And so Madeline in the back, go ahead and raise your hand again. This is Madeline, and she'll help you navigate that and register, and we're just taking 10 who register and pay today. Now, we have a 20-minute break, and during this break, go visit our health partners. These are people in the community that are congruent with this lifestyle. Visit them, they're supportive. One of the ones I want to highlight is Dr. So. She's my dentist. She helped me remove my amalgam fillings. Visit her. She'll tell you all the reasons why you don't want that mercury metal in your mouth. Visit her, get her information. We're going to have a 20-minute break, so right on the nose. We're on a tight time schedule today. So in 20 minutes, we're going to be right back here and get started.
The main thing is the diet and how much the diet affects what happens to us. When you take and you consider what we've been taught from grade school up to what we actually need and should have, there's a big difference there. It makes a huge difference in the way our body processes things.
Certainly ways to clean up my diet a little bit. Another reminder of the upside down pyramid, which is always a good learning and relearning.
Come this way. Try it. There's lots of good information that may help change your life.
Probably the biggest thing is that eating more fat is going to make a healthier body. I like the ant video. Thought that was pretty interesting.
If you just listen and process it and pay attention to the science of it, it makes a big difference. Most people won't do that.
impressive, eh? And so you're never too old. They did studies of nursing home women, so 90-year-old nursing home women, and they measured their thigh muscles after an intense exercise. For them, intensity looks a little different, but they measured their thigh muscles afterwards. They're able to build the thigh muscles, and they're able to overcome. And so really, you're never too old. Your body does not know its age, and that's vastly different from what most people are being told. And you might think, well, my body knows my age. No, it does not. Your brain is telling your body what to think right now. Your body does not know its age. And so when it comes to fitness, we all know that we should exercise, but it's the problem of not knowing, but it's the problem of doing. And a lot of people are doing the wrong type of exercise, but I want to give you an idea and some motivation of the reason why you should exercise. Researchers found that by just walking 30 minutes a day improved a patient's symptoms faster than an antidepressant. You're on an antidepressant, or you have anxiety, or you have depression. Well, the spiritual component, yes, first. Second component, daily exercise. You have to. And so I want to help you get out of your own way on this, because even at the break I heard some of these, I don't want to call them fears, let's call them objections, right? Let's call them objections to exercise. One of them is, I can't exercise because exercise hurts. You have arthritis, and so every time you move, maybe it's your knees, maybe it's your hips, maybe it's your back, it hurts every time you move. Well, the key to that is that you have to keep moving through that. And I'm not telling you to exercise through pain, I'm telling you to keep moving through discomfort. There's a difference, because the reality is that exercise reduces pain and arthritis. That's been studied over and over and over again. The exercise that you're doing is going to actually help you with arthritis symptoms. I don't have time to exercise. Listen, every single one of our presidents, or at least the last 3 that I've studied, they've all made exercise daily habits. And so if the president of the United States has time to exercise, I don't think we can use time as an excuse anymore. We have to exercise. We can create time. What I find is not a time, it's a priority thing. You can carve out, listen, there's 168 hours in your week. You can carve out time for exercise if that's a priority. My suggestion, who in here has social media, things like Facebook, Insta, has some level of social media, or how many of you use email on a daily basis, right? How many of you text? Keep your hands raised. I want to make sure I'm talking to the right people. So we all do that. So let's analyze that. Maybe we can carve out some of that time where we're scrolling on Insta or scrolling on Facebook or texting or emailing. I can't afford the gym equipment. Good news, you can exercise from where? Home. Max T3, you can exercise from your home. It's easy. It takes 12 minutes or less. You can get in the best shape of your life in 12 minutes a day from home. You can even just incorporate bands that you can travel with. That's what I do. I have a personal trainer myself. We meet virtually. You might say, why, Nick, do you have a personal trainer? You were a personal trainer yourself. Accountability. That's the reason why. I know I go upstairs and I open my computer and there's Morgan sitting there waiting for me, because I know if I don't exercise at that time, it might get pushed back. And so there's Morgan, ready and willing, and we do bands, and it's easy, but you can get in the best shape of your life in 12 minutes or less. It's easy to open the computer, less easy for the workout, right? If you're only exercising 12 minutes a day, you better make that hard. So I don't want to mislead you on that. But 5%, less than 5% of the population exercises. Did you know that? Less than 5% of the population exercises in the way that they should on a regular basis. It's not a factor of not knowing how, it's a matter of just not doing it. If we enacted right now a draft, do you know 1/3 of the youth would not be fit for military service? Think about that. That's bad. And so we have to lead the way. We have to lead by example. I have parents oftentimes will tell me, well, he just won't eat this, or he won't exercise, or he won't do that. And I'm like, what'd your workout look like this morning? They're like, I didn't. I'm like, what about yesterday? How'd that one look? No. How about last week? What was your best workout last week? And they're like, it didn't happen. I'm like, right. So lead the way. Like, you work out first. Golden rule for fitness is breathe hard and sweat. One of the major concepts here, the golden rule, is that if you're going to work out, you have to breathe hard. You have to. If you're only exercising for 12 to 15 minutes at a time, this is your litmus test. Are you breathing hard? Are you sweating? I had a client when I was a personal trainer. I had a client tell me, I just don't sweat. I'm like, well, have you done a session with me yet? And they're like, nope. Okay. Challenge accepted. and she sweat a lot. And the idea is that I don't sweat usually as I'm not working hard enough. And so you have to sweat, you have to breathe hard. You do sweat, I guarantee it, and if you want to put it to the test, I'm more than willing. And so we can talk through that if you want. But classic cardio, there's good and bad when it comes to classic cardio. Maybe you're a runner, maybe you're a biker, maybe you just go to the gym and you're on the elliptical for an hour. What the reality is that there are pros and there are cons to that. I don't want to lead you to believe that that getting on that bicycle for an hour, that's doing you harm. It's really not doing you harm, but you want to make sure that you incorporate interval training into this. Because the benefits to you going to the gym and you running, or you getting outside and you biking, there's so many good things that happen there. I mean, you're moving, you're getting your lymphatic system moving, your circulation is increasing, you're using your joints and movement of your spine that you otherwise would never have moved before. There's so many benefits, cardiac, your brain, so many benefits to doing that, but you just have to realize that there are cons to getting on the treadmill and camping out there for an hour. And some of the cons are increased stress hormones. Increased stress hormones such as like cortisol. And cortisol, we know, is in a hormone that's going to break down your muscle. It's going to cause your body to store extra fat. And I think at the end of the day, if I polled everyone and had a poll of why do you exercise, most people would tell me that one of the benefits that they're not looking for is to increase fat inside of their body and then also break down their muscle. That's really not what you're trying to do with your exercise. But if you're just doing that long, slow distance, you're running for an hour at a time, and I would have people would come into the gym and I would ask them questions. I'd see them go to the treadmill and they'd stay there for like an hour. I'd ask them questions. I'm like, so what is your goal for this? And they'd say things like, well, I want to lose what? Weight. And so what would happen? They'd put on an incline and they'd be walking for an hour. I'm like, okay, so you're trying to lose weight, so who told you that this would be the method that's best for you? And they're like, well, I looked on the treadmill and it says this is the fat burning what? Fat burning zone. And if you're in this fat burning zone, meaning your heart rate is at a certain level of your maximum and you camp out there, you're going to be burning fat for energy. I'm going to show you why you've been lied to when it comes to that. And really, if you think about it, if you're a treadmill manufacturer, okay, so follow this. What do you think is going to burn out the belt faster? Somebody walking or somebody running? Running. So what do they want you to do on their treadmills? They want you to walk. And so they're going to put that baby right on the front end of that treadmill, and then you're going to use it, and then you're unfortunately only going to be using fat as an energy source during the exercise. And afterwards, your metabolism plummets and you're no longer burning fat as an energy source. I'm going to show you a method of exercise that helps you to burn fat for the next 36 hours after your exercise. How many of you would like to have an exercise program that after your exercise program, you go sit on the couch, you're watching TV, you're still burning fat? Raise your hand. Yeah, so I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do that. And it's metabolic conditioning, otherwise known as AKA surge training, high intensity interval training. Max T3 is the program we use to incorporate this, and it's literally 12 minutes of exercise at minimum, and your heart rate is getting up to 80 to 90% of its maximum. Now, how many of you have a heart rate monitor? Most people don't have a heart rate monitor. So if you do, great, look at your heart rate. Another good way of measuring this is just your breath. You should be breathless by the end of the 12 minutes, and really, that's a good litmus test. If you're not breathing hard or you're not near breathless, you want to take a step back and say, well, what was my intensity level like? Because my intensity level is going to be different from yours, different from yours, different from every single person in here, different. However, we all need to breathe hard and be near breathless. So I had a group of people. We were doing the high intensity interval training and the Max T3. And at the end, we're done, and everyone's high-fiving. They're having conversations with each other, like, man, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah, what are you doing after this? Yeah, I'm going to First Watch, and we're going to have pancakes. What are you doing? Yeah, we're going to do this. And I'm looking at this, and I stop, and I go, bonus round. Nope, bonus round. We're doing this again. Because if you're not breathless, if you're able to talk to your neighbor in that way, you didn't work hard enough, and there's a bonus round that you have to do. You're like, man, I'm not exercising with you. I know. I know. The hormone response is amazing. You want to balance hormones? Well, do high intensity interval training. If you're female and you say, hey, my hormones are just a wreck, when I have that conversation and somebody will tell me that, again, I ask the question, what did your workout look like this morning? And usually, again, it's this conversation of, well, I need to start working out. Here's the reason why. There's so much of a hormonal response inside of your body when you exercise at a high intensity. HGH increases, testosterone increases. You're building good lean muscle. Notice I said lean muscle. You're breaking down fat inside of your body. And so there's no better way to balance hormones, to destroy fat, to build lean muscle than high intensity interval training. Using large muscle groups when you exercise is going to be your absolute key to this. Now, some of the other hormones that decrease are things like cortisol, which wastes muscles and cause you to retain more fat. High intensity interval training is going to help do that. If you're a long, slow distance person right now, a biker or runner, just incorporate this in. It doesn't have to be your primary form of exercise. Just incorporate this in. It's going to help you not to suffer some of the negative consequences of that long, slow distance. The vast majority of people are not athletes. Went to the Rio Olympics. And we were on the Wellness Advisory Council at the Rio Olympics, and so I was there, and one of my primary sources of inspiration was the sprinters. How many of you watched the Olympics in Rio? I mean, from afar. I know you weren't there, but so you watched that, and the sprinters. We worked with Justin Gatlin and some of the sprinters on that team, and you look at their bodies, right? You look at their bodies. They are physical specimens. They looked like they are carved out of a magazine, right? Carved out of stone. And you look at them. They have lean muscle. They have very little fat. And I talked with their coach, and I got their fitness program. And I remember with Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott and I, we met on the Butler track for probably 3 months just to incorporate their fitness routine, just because it was amazing. And one of the things that they noted is that they never run more than 45 seconds at a time. So the most elite athletes, the elite of the elite, the ones who are at the Olympics, the one winning gold medals, they're not running more than 45 seconds at a time. And look at their body versus, let's say, the marathoners. The marathoners, they're slender. A lot of times they have just a little of excess weight around the midsection. Why was that? Well, one of the reasons why that was is because of that hormone balance that we just talked about, that catabolic hormone, cortisol, which is going to waste your muscle. It's going to cause you to store extra fat. So if that's the goal, then go ahead and run 27 miles. If that's not the goal, then just keep it short, under 45 seconds. And the reality is, and I told you, there's an afterburn effect with this, and you'll see on this on this chart here, on the left is this classic cardio. Immediately when you're done with the cardio, that excess post-oxygen consumption, well, that goes down. That means your metabolism falls through the floor after this exercise. Now, when it comes to high-intensity interval training like Max T3, the next 36 hours, you're still burning fat. Now, the good news, you want to keep your metabolism elevated, work out again, and then again, and then again. And then what happens over time, you're not breaking the chain. Well, what ends up happening is your metabolism stays up indefinitely. And that's really the idea. And you say, how often should I exercise? Most days of the week. Most days of the week. If you're 34 years old and you don't currently exercise right now, you've never exercised in your life, guess what? Every single day of the week right now, make this a habit for yourself. And the reality is you have never done this before, so just don't break the chain for a while. And then you can slow it down to 4 to 5 days a week. Build the habit first. You can do it. You can absolutely do it, and there's no reason why not. There's lots of reasons why too. Just don't break the chain. Build a habit, but make a commitment to yourself that you're going to do that. Draw a line in the sand, cross it, and say, okay, I'm here. I got to show up. The hardest part of your workout is just putting on your workout clothes. It's the hardest part. Once you do that and then you show up, the rest is easy. So instead of just like talking about all the different ways that you can do this, because you can cycle and run and sprint and you can do squats and burpees. How many of you know what a burpee is, right? Okay, so who loves them? No? Okay. Elliptical, whole body movements are really going to do it. So instead of like really going through all this, I'd rather just show you instead of just tell you. So everyone on your feet, let's do this. And this is going to be a sample. Someone said I didn't wear my workout clothes, right? This is just a sample. But the reality of this is it's so much easier just to do instead of just to tell. So we're going to go through this, and what we're going to do is a couple different movements. One is just air punches. How many of you know what air punches are? So right here. So you're just right here doing this. No, don't do it yet. We'll do it in a second. But I'm going to demonstrate. You're right here doing air punches. Now, we're only doing this for 30 seconds at a time. So if we're going to do this for only 30 seconds, we're not going to do it easy. What do we got to do it? We got to go hard. We got to go all out. If you have shoulder issues, if you have, let's say, rotator cuff problems, you're going to stay more in here than full extension. But let's do this thing. We're going to go all the way out. That's the first one. The second one that we'll do is we're going to do squats. Now, caveat to this, let me show you the full squat that you should be doing, and give yourself some room, you know. But you're going to do a full squat right here, and you're going back and forth quickly. Now, if you've got hip issues, knee issues, joint issues, lower back problems, then you're going to do what's called a half squat right here. If that bothers you, you're doing the air punches again. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go 30 seconds. Don't go yet. I've got a countdown for us, so watch the screen. 30-second bursts. You can do anything for 30 seconds at a time. Here we go. We got 10 seconds. Nope, 10 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Music's going to drop. Go. Here we go. Come on, as hard as you can. As hard as you can. You've only got 30 seconds to do this. Keep your shoulders back. Good posture. Head is back. You're not looking at the ground right now. You're looking up. There you go. Keep it going. Keep it going. If your whole body is not moving right now, you're not doing it enough. Come on. You should look goofy doing this. Come on. You should look goofy as you do this. Madeline, lead the way in this. Come on. Not this. We're doing here. Come on. There you go. Good. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Break. Okay. 30-second break. Give yourself a hand for that one. The break always feels shorter than the actual workout. Here we go. We got 15 seconds about. Now remember, this one we were doing squats. So you're right here and go fast. So you're going up and down quickly. Don't hurt yourself. You know, one of their core principles is that we're form people. So form people, stick your butt out first. Here we go. And go. Here we go. Squats. Quickly. There you go. Good. All the way up, all the way down. Good. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. You got it. Feet apart. So feet apart. So your feet are hip width apart right now. Your butt is going back. If you're doing this, that is not a squat, okay? Here we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Knees are solid right here. You've got this. Keep your chest high. Look up towards the ceiling. Come on. 3, 2, 1. Break. Give yourself a hand. All right, yeah. No bonus round. I'm not going to do that to you. You're good. The challenge is always talking right after that. So I get challenged when I tell somebody out in the community that you can get in the best shape of your life in just 12 minutes a day. And they say, no, you can't. Well, here we go. Can you get in the best shape of your life in just 12 minutes a day? Yes, you can. You just have to commit to doing it. Breathless, see? Yeah, that's the key. Now, here's the thing, is that there'll be some of you who said, you know, I can't work out that hard, whatever, I've got a pacemaker or something. Consistency is going to trump intensity every day of the week. So the person who wins in this game is the person who shows up consistently and is just steady all the way across. So you might not work out hard every single day. You might not go at your absolute max every single day. The commitment, though, for you is just to show up. And if you do that, at the end of the day, you're going to be the one who wins. Right? I feel like I didn't take a breath when I said all that. Thank you for a question. Yeah, say it.
Can you do that on a treadmill just by going like really fast, moving the height and speed for like a minute, and then go back down to more of your normal?
Yeah, it's a good way of doing it. So her question was, can you do this on a treadmill, ramp it up for a minute or so and come back down? I recommend max 45 seconds, but with a treadmill, you push the button, you put your finger on it, it takes a second to speed up, and then you put your finger on it again, it takes a second for it to speed, go back down. So it might say a minute, but 45 seconds at the actual exercise. So treadmill's an easy way to do it, bike's an easy way to do it. Stairs at home, how many of you have stairs at home? Do it on stairs. It's just, again, if you're creative, you're gonna figure it out. If you're not, and you object before you even start, listen, that's the issue right there, is just show up and then figure it out, right? Max T3 makes it easy. You put in the video, now it's all online. You can go to maxt3.com and it's all right there online now. It's really easy. Dr. Fred Roberto, he's a wrestler, so just keep that in mind. He's he's going to be a little bit intense for first thing in the morning, but it's great. I love it. So so I've got the privilege of bringing Dr. Alcorn up next, and I can say so much about Dr. Alcorn, just about who he is. And in school, I've known him for 10 years now. because we went to chiropractic school together. We were in the same class. And you know, just seeing the type of person he is, we've always really wanted to work together. And I remember he'd travel to some of the largest organic farms in the country to study how they were farming and the sustainability, and looking at the manufacturing processes of certain different supplements to see how they were doing it. Because he not only wanted to be the best, but he also wanted to consume the best and know about the best. And that's obviously why we wanted to work together. So, you know, the thing about Dr. Alcorn, I think you'll see, is that he's I think the most genuinely happy and genuinely kind person that I've ever met in my entire life. Like, if you know Dr. Alcorn personally, you can attest to that. And it's, you know, my privilege to get to work with him, but it's also my privilege to introduce him to you guys. So everybody on your feet, this is Dr. Drew Alcorn.
Fox 35 News.
Welcome back to Fox 35 News at 8:30. They are forever your babies, but like it or not, your kids have to grow up at some point. But more than ever, kids are going through puberty, that is, at an earlier age. So what's to blame here, and how can you keep your child's hormones in check? Joining us right now is Dr. Jennifer Landa, board-certified hormone expert and chief medical officer of Body Logic. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was just telling you, this is really a great topic. We're dealing with this at my house. I have a 10-year-old. She's in 5th grade. But I started noticing in 2nd grade, kids were developing. By 3rd grade, 3 of them were already going through menstruation, and it's so much earlier than we remember as kids.
Yes, Heidi, I'm seeing the same thing because I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I'm seeing the same thing in her classes. What's happening now is earlier, puberty used to be common at about age 15 or 16, and over the last several decades, it's been getting earlier and earlier. And now we're seeing girls going through puberty, signs of puberty like breast development and pubic hair starting at ages 6 to 8. Precocious puberty is really what we're talking about here, and precocious puberty was defined as early puberty and used to be defined as earlier than 8 years old in girls. And now we're starting to move that definition back to earlier than 7 because it's becoming more and more common.
I worry about foods, maybe hormones in the meat and the milk, or some of the plastics we use, or chemicals. Can any of these be linked back to it, or do we not know why it's happening?
Scientists have linked precocious puberty to many different causes, but some of the ones that you just mentioned are the ones. So number 1, hormones in food. The FDA approves 6 different hormones in food, including estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone, and those are the sex hormones that can increase puberty. Obesity is another thing because estrogens are made in fat tissues and stored in fat tissues, so more obesity, more fat, more estrogen. And also the parabens, like you said, the household products. Parabens, a lot of your viewers might not know, but they'll start hearing more about. Parabens contain are xenoestrogens, so they act like estrogen in the body, and that can increase our risk of early puberty.
When we talk about early puberty, I think one of the hardest parts is you have to start talking to your kids about subjects you're just not ready for, and maybe they're not mentally for. So is there anything that we can do maybe to turn back the hands of time a little bit and help our kids so that maybe they're not there quite as soon?
Yes, there are 3 things that you can really do right now to try to decrease the incidence of this. Number 1 is go green with your kids' diet.
Okay.
Try to eat healthier foods. Make sure, read labels and make sure you're eating foods that haven't been injected with hormones and pesticides. Number 2, read the household product labels. Look for the parabens. Things like methylparaben and propylparaben are things that you really want to avoid in shampoos, body lotions, and they're there. They're everywhere. Number 3, exercise. Make sure your kids get exercise every day. Go out and take a walk as a family tonight.
Some great information. I think we could talk hours about this because a lot of moms and dads have concerns about it. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we can start making a few of those steps to make some changes.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in.
So Dr. Wilson always does a great job of getting everybody pumped up, and it's always a really good thing. I'm here to bring the mood back down. Really somber and boring, right? Talk about toxicity. No, I'm kidding. This is going to be the best part. So we try to make health complicated in this country, right? We already talked about that. The reality is, and the truth is, it's not. It's actually very simple. Let me tell you a story. So when I was in middle school and high school, this was my breakfast every day of my life. I would have a cookies and cream Pop-Tart, and I would wash that down with Gatorade. The Pop-Tarts have the Gatorade has 34 grams of sugar, The Pop-Tart, one package has 40 grams of sugar. That's 74 grams of sugar before 8 a.m. The daily recommendation for sugar, that's 6 times that amount for children for the entire day. And I was consuming that amount before 8 a.m. I had terrible acne. I couldn't pay attention in class. Diarrhea was common for me. It was really tough. It was a tough time in my life. And when I was finally able to see that that is what was the problem, was when it all switched for me. But fast forward to college, because I didn't find out until later. So fast forward to college, and I was consuming dining hall food and some of the other things that college students sometimes consume, I was told. And my toxicity issues continued. I struggled with the same problems. I continued to have acne. I continued to have energy problems. Luckily, or I guess unluckily, I didn't find coffee, but I just substituted. I was a pretty big soda person and a pretty big energy drink person throughout my college years. Those 5-hour energies, you guys remember those? There was one time when I was studying for a final that was at 7 in the morning, and I was unprepared. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to take one of those. It was at 2:30 in the morning, and I said, I'll take a 5-hour energy because the final starts at 7, so this will be perfect. And so I started taking the final, and then I fell asleep during the final. And this person next to me walked up, and he like kneed me. I was like, ow, God, man, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in a final. And so luckily I got the thing finished, and I passed somehow, but it was to the point where I was falling asleep during tests. And for some reason that didn't wake me up. You know what finally woke me up? It was when I was a sophomore at Purdue, I developed shingles right here. And I went to the university clinic, and the nurse practitioner was dumbfounded. She looked at that, and she said, well, that's shingles. And she looked at me, she said, well, that shouldn't be happening to you. You're not old enough for that. She didn't have an answer for me. She had absolutely no idea. And I'm embarrassed to say that my first gut reaction was not to examine what were my behaviors, because I mean the evidence was all over the place. It was to call my mom and to ask her, hey, does shingles run in our family? Shingles is a virus, just like chickenpox. It doesn't run in your family. It happens when your immune system is depressed. So if you've had varicella, or you had chickenpox because of varicella, it's still in your body, but your immune system keeps it depressed. Isn't that cool? So when your immune system is strong, then that stuff stays down. So I should have been asking, what question should I have been asking? What's wrong with my immune system? Why is it not suppressing a virus that shouldn't give me shingles when I'm 22 years old? I didn't think to ask that question. So now this is a typical breakfast for me, right? Because how do we build a strong immune system? Is you start your day off on the right foot with the right nutrients. Unsweetened coconut milk and almond butter are for fats. Yep. Ground flaxseed is because the important benefits of balancing inflammation in the body, and that's what ground flaxseed does. Protein and fiber, obviously. Strawberries, I just like strawberries, and they're great. I use frozen instead of ice. That way you don't have to use ice and it's still cold. But the big player here is spinach. It has a compound in it called thiacoloids. They're a chemical compound within spinach that's naturally derived, and it's natural to our bodies. And a study out of Lund University in Sweden showed that it can reduce hedonic hunger by 95%. Hedonic hunger is those sweet cravings that you get of, I've got to shove my face with as many Big Macs as I can find, and I'm going to follow it up with a double extra large ice cream shake split. Right? That's what hedonic hunger is. And when you have spinach, and it's this easy. Ready? Watch. Everybody go like this. Right here. Okay. Handful. Blender. On. All right? And it's that easy to help your body reduce satiety over the course of the whole day. Obviously, the protein is incredibly important. That's kind of, I think, what everybody thinks of when you think of a morning smoothie as a protein smoothie. It doesn't have to be a protein smoothie, highly recommended. And especially, not just any protein that has no sugar, no toxins, and it is 100% grass-fed. I was going to come up here and I was going to ask why, everybody's all about grass-fed here at MaxLiving Indy, and why is that? And I was going to say this really snappy catchline, but Katie stole my thunder.
I'm so sorry.
And that's great. I love.
I listen to everything you guys say.
I love that you knew that before we even said it.
That's because of you guys.
And the answer is because you are what your food eats, right? And beef is not meant to eat grains. Beef is not meant to eat surplus feed. It's meant to eat grass-fed. Okay, and here's a caveat. You might not always know. Grass-fed and finished. Thank you. Grass-fed and finished. Grass-fed and finished means the duration of that beef's life, it's been consuming what it's supposed to. Some of these manufacturers will try and get away, and they'll start the beef off with grass, and in the last 2 months of its life, they'll say, whoop, and they'll put grain in. Why do they do that? Fatten them up. Why do they do that? What's it all about? Okay. Nutrition for advanced health. The Advanced Nutrition Plan you can find on page 51 and 167 of your brand new Align Your Health book. This book is amazing. Okay, I love this book. This book is so great. The information is so succinct. It's not a doctor book. It's a everybody book. This book is meant to be for everyone to implement the 5 essentials in your life, because when you do, amazing things happen. The 5 keys to the Advanced Nutrition Plan, which attack your hormone problem at the root, are to eliminate sugars, cut out grains, remove bad fats, replace with good fats, eat very little fruit, and avoid toxins. Now, I'm not here to rehash on nutrition because Dr. Scott has already given us so much to implement. What I'd actually like to talk about is avoiding toxins, and specifically a category of them called xenoestrogens. Xenoestrogens are compounds that are man-made chemical compounds that imitate the action of estrogen in the body. And quite literally what they do, and you can see that little graphic there, is they steal the binding site of where a hormone is meant to attach. So we have all these little molecules that float through our body and they attach on all these different transmitter sites. But if we have foreign substances that are entering our body on a weekly or daily or constant schedule, then our endocrine system will be disrupted, and that's why they're called EDCs, endocrine disrupting compounds. Let me tell you about Bethany. Bethany was a patient of mine. She was 18 years old, vibrant, active, ambitious. She's the life of the party. Exercises nearly every day, often for hours at a time. Obviously, she doesn't work out with Dr. Wilson because she couldn't work out for hours. And yet, despite all of that, and she tried to eat the best that she could, but 18, she's in high school. What does high school food look like? Junk. It's processed food. It's packed with toxins. There are so many examples of United States food versus other countries' food. There's this viral video on that. You've got to watch it. It's disgusting. But her body was just packed with toxins because of all these things she was eating, and despite her best efforts, she continued to gain weight. After a few months, she had been given a diagnosis of PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, at age 18 years old. And this was devastating to her. Not only is she a active person, but she's a loving person, and one of her biggest life goals is to become a mom. And at 18, that's already being threatened for her with PCOS. And so I talked to her about this detox journey. Look, this is why you need to do it, Bethany. You've got to get these toxins out of your body on a schedule. And initially, she had every excuse for me. She really did. I can't eat that food. Oh gosh, that food. Oh, yuck. I don't have time. I can't afford the products. And I said, look, Bethany, all of these things that you're telling me, these are, excuses, and I'm sorry, but these things are just based in lack of information and really fear. So when I assured her that, look, when you start eating real food, Your body likes that because it recognizes what this is, and your taste buds change. You will have more time in your schedule because you'll feel better. And so you'll have more time. And as far as cost, what do you think is more expensive? This or going to specialists every month for follow-up blood work and for follow-up scans? And so she agreed and she started, but the most important part was she deeply committed herself to the process of detoxing. Okay? Guess what happened? She got better. Not a surprise. She got better. She got junk out of her diet. She lost weight. Her skin improved. Her self-esteem improved. And her PCOS diagnosis was reversed. Reversed. So toxins come in many forms, specifically the one she was talking about, parabens and phthalates, and I'm going to get into the plastics, BPA, here in a minute. But you have to take your product and you have to turn it around, and you have to look at the label and look for those two big words, parabens and phthalates especially, and another big one is the word dioxin. These are poisons. These have been shown and proven to put you at risk for hormonal problems and cancer. Okay, next one, in foods. All right, everybody take out your note sheet. Hopefully you're furiously writing and write where it says eliminate non-GMO. Whoops. Typo. What should it say? It should say eliminate GMO. Sorry about that. He got it. Eliminate GMO. Eliminate GMO and include organic. So I just wanted to apologize for the discrepancy there. Soy has an estrogen mimicking effect in the body. Coffee is a big one. Coffee is a really, really big one because of the amount of herbicides and pesticides that they spray. It's so important to look for an organic option. If you look at the end there where it says high mercury fish, I just had an opportunity to speak with one of our vendors before we got started, Dr. Catherine So from MaxLiving Family Dentistry. It's a holistic dentist office, and one of the things that they do is remove those mercury and amalgam fillings. So you definitely want to go and talk with her if you get a chance about that. Like I said, get parabens out. Get BPA out. They recently switched to something called BPS. That's just as bad as BPA. So look out for that one too, because that one's coming. I'm going to skip over this little video. Okay. So our detox system, the main takeaway is that you have to get toxins out of your system. And in order to do that, you have to have the cell wall open. And by eating good fats, that cell wall opens and it binds those toxins and gets them out into the bloodstream. Glutathione is a super antioxidant in your body, and it helps to destroy free radicals and help keep you cancer-free. She's a toxic mess, and she knows it, just like I was. These are all the different sources of toxins: air, water, food, soil, products. We have to get those out of our life, and it's not just the food that we eat, it's the stress that's in our life that damages us in so many ways. It's just the same thing as running away from a bear in the woods. Constant stress, living with your foot on the gas pedal, trying to pay the bills, trying to get all these things done, keeping up with the Joneses, all that stuff. It's going to increase stress, and more fat is stored, increases blood pressure, increases blood sugar, digestion slows. When all those things happen, do you think you lose weight or gain weight? Gain weight. You gain weight. So what do we need to do? We need to lose weight. It should not surprise you that the key dietary changes for losing weight are the same as the advanced plan. Good nutrition and weight loss go hand in hand. My folks are up here this weekend. I practiced this for my mom last night. She did not laugh. So it's not supposed to be a traumatic process. It really isn't. If you're more toxic, it's going to be. Menopause changes after your last menstrual cycle. You only have a set number of eggs, and once they're gone, your body knows it's time to make the switch. But the more toxins you have in your body, the more traumatic it'll be. And guys, hey, look, I hate to tell you, hormonal problems are not for ladies only. They are not for ladies only. Men, we have estrogen too. And there's a condition called estrogen dominance. And when a man has estrogen dominance, it's very similar to when a woman has it. Your body weight is affected, your energy is affected, your sex life is affected, everything. And there's never been a better time to get these toxins out of our life. So takeaways. My detox journey happened over time rather than all at once. I started first by getting my nervous system checked, by eating better. I improved my water intake, and I prioritized sleep. Once I had set these as the minimum acceptable standard for my life and for my foundation of health, then my wife and I started implementing the other changes. We started to green our personal products. We started to green our household cleaners and those products. And we did the detox together, because everything is better when you share it with someone. I started exercising regularly, had more energy naturally, didn't need energy drinks anymore. I still drink coffee and I still like coffee, but I don't depend on it. I don't rely on it because energy is better now. So we're going to bring Dr. Wilson back up to stage in just a minute. Thank you.
If you think about this, 70% of the time, the very first symptom of a heart disease is the what? It's the heart attack. So consider this, the very first symptom of heart disease is going to be your heart attack, yet we wait for symptoms to show up. We say, well, and I hear this, I'm skinny, I feel good, I'm what? I'm healthy. Well, here's the challenge with that. If you're designed to function at 100%, which you are, we are all designed to function at 100%. If your immune system is functioning at 100%, you're healthy. If your immune system is functioning at 100%, you don't get things like the flu. You don't get cancer. If your heart's beating and healing and functioning at 100%, you don't get heart disease. You don't get blood pressure problems. So if this is the case, you think about this. If your heart, as an example, is designed to function at 100%, where do you think you'd start to feel the dysfunction? Do you think when it gets down to 90% you would feel the dysfunction? 80% you feel the dysfunction? 70%? You get all the way down to 60% function, and then you get your first what? Symptoms. So what are we taught to do with our symptoms in this country? Let's say you get a headache. What are we taught to do with that? Yeah, take a pill. What's a good one for a headache? Just talk to me. Tylenol. So here's my question to you. Is a Tylenol the cause of your headache or lack of it? Is let's say acid reflux. Is the cause of your acid reflux the fact that God forgot to put Tums or Pepto in your bloodstream? It's not the cause, but we are taught that the symptom is the real issue. So what do? Cover it up. And what do? Continue living life. And if the underlying problem is still there and your body is sending you these signals as a warning sign to tell you something's wrong, do something different, and you don't do something different, you continue living life, did that drug actually help you? No. What did it cause? It caused you to keep living life, and a prescription is a permission slip to stay the same. And what happens is that, what I find, we take advantage of the fact that the body is self-healing and self-regulating because your body is constantly trying to heal you. And you really think about this, right now you're digesting food that you ate yesterday. Your body is assimilating that food. It's turning it into cells inside of your body. It's converting it. It's getting rid of the waste. Like, there is an intelligence inside of your body that's trying to produce life. It's trying to produce health. It's fighting for you. It's not fighting against you. But what do? We take advantage of that. And what do? Continue living life, and our body's trying to do this to get you back here, but the underlying issues are still there. What happens? Boom. And whether that boom happens 5 months, 5 weeks, or 5 years from now, it eventually happens. We eventually pay the piper when we continue living life. And so what I find now is that most people will live their life doing that little pattern that I just described. Am I right? Most people run to the what? Medicine cabinet when they have a problem. They have more faith in a spoonful of medicine than they do the power that animates the living world, that power that's inside of you. And so what we do is we take advantage of that fact. And the reality is at the end of the day, you're seeing now a whole group of people, a whole generation of people that will not outlive their parents. And this is the first time that it's ever happened that this generation, millennials, say what you want, they're not outliving their parents. Yet what do? Eat better. They do. They exercise more. Yet they're not going to outlive their parents. Why? Because of this philosophy, this medical way of thinking is what's destroying a generation, it's destroying our country. So if you hear nothing else from me, if you take nothing else from this talk, hear this. If the only thing you implement from here moving forward is to divorce that system of thinking and living, that's fine. It's going to change your life. But at the end of the day, you have to look at Okay, I want to prevent disease. You showed up. Why do you want to prevent disease? How do you prevent disease? How do you make sure you never end up a statistic? Here's the key. You function and heal out here. You function and heal at your absolute best, because when your heart is functioning and healing at 100%, your heart is beating well. You're never going to get heart disease. Your immune system is functioning and healing out here. You're preventing cancer. And so you think about this, then if that's the case, for me it's logical to look at the one system that controls healing and functioning inside of your body. And there's one system, the most important system you have inside of you, yet it's also the most neglected system inside of you. It's what tells your heart to beat, tells your lungs to breathe. If I cut your leg with a paper cut, not a machete, but if I cut the leg, your leg's gonna heal. You don't have to think about these things. Right now, put your hand over your heart. It's beating. Did you think about your heart beating right before I said that? The answer is no, it's still doing it. Take a deep breath in. Blow it all the way out. That's happening inside of you. You don't have to think about these things because there's one system that's controlling it, and it's the most important system inside of your body. What system is the most important system inside of your body? It's your nervous system. So God literally put all the healing power inside of your brain and spinal cord. So right now, your brain and spinal cord controls everything. Heart to beat, lungs to breathe, what just happened, the food to digest, cuts to heal. Information starts in the brain, sends the signal down the spinal cord, out through the nerves. Every organ, every cell, every single tissue is under direct communication with the nervous system. And so that brain sends the signal out. And we know how important this system is, and you know how important this system is, because if I cut the nerve that goes to your heart, what's going to happen to your heart? It stops. So scale that back. You don't cut the nerve, but you just put pressure there. And now you put pressure there day in and day out. Is the heart going to function properly or poorly over time? Is it going to be building healthy cells or disease cells over time? That's the entire reason you have a spine. It is not to hold you upright. That spine is 24 individual movable vertebrae that surround and protect brainstem, spinal cord, nervous system, skull to protect the brain. So if you think about this, this is the only system that is entirely surrounded and protected by hard bone. And so what you want to see is you want to see 3 distinct curves in the spine. And from the side, when you look at yourself from the side, Madeline, can you help me out with this part? She's going to come up here as a prop. Not. 3 curves from the side, and then it should be straight from the front. So I'll show you the anatomical version first, then we'll use Madeline. So it should be straight from the front. But what happens is from the slips and falls, from the car accidents, from the injuries, from the sports, from the text neck that was described earlier, what happens is that we actually lose the natural curves in the spine, or it does this, boom. And then what happens to that nerve right there? That pinching pressure right there, that's what's called subluxation. And when you have subluxation, it creates dysfunction, it leads to disease, ultimately it causes an early death wherever that nerve goes. So if this nerve right here goes to this person's heart, is he healthy or is he sick? Okay, so let's say he does everything that Dr. Alcorn described. He does everything that Dr. Scott described. He has a great mindset. He lives well, yet he has this. He's got no pain, by the way, because only 4% of the nerves feel anything. Did you know that? Only 4% of these nerves actually feel something. The other 96% of the nerves go to the organs, the cells, and the tissues. So he does not feel this, yet he's got this. Healthy or sick? Still. He's still sick. How about this? Okay, healthy or sick? Okay, some of you say really sick. Here's the challenge. What kind of symptoms do you think this person has? Back pain. Well, yes, scoliosis is the term. Back pain. What else? What other kind of symptoms do they have? Digestive problems. Yep, these nerves go into digestion. I had a 19-year-old girl come into our office. She looked like this. She had 0 symptoms just recently. Nope. Well, one of them, so we see commonly people with scoliosis sometimes get headaches. There's been some who have had headaches. Just recently, though, this girl got her spine and nervous system checked because her mom came in and her daughter decided to come in and get checked, and then this is what we found. Had no idea this was happening. Do you know this is called scoliosis? This takes 14 to 20 years off your life. That's medically. That is not a Dr. Wilson stat. That is a medical fact. And you know, we talk about years off of life, but no one really mentions quality of life. What's the quality of life of a person like this? 14 to 20 years off your life. That means organ systems are going to shut down prematurely. Yes? And so quality of life suffers. So how would you ever know if you had damaging pressure going to the nerves that go into your heart? How would you ever know that? How would you know if you had damaging pressure on the nerves that feed into your stomach? You can't go by symptoms. We just covered that. Those are the warning signs. There's 2 critical tests, and these are the ones to write down. The first one is called a surface EMG. And so Madeline's you're going to come out here, and then what you're going to do is turn your back to everyone and face that way. Yep, right here. Okay, so Surface EMG is computerized testing. It's developed and certified by NASA. And what it's reading is electrical impulses. Can I part your hair?
Yeah.
Shannon, this one's for you. That's an inside joke, because she says I play with people's hair, and when I adjust them, she says I do this. I don't mean to do that. That's just what happens. So, where are you? So what the scan does is it reads the electrical impulses coming from the spine, from the nervous system. So it's the only test I'm aware of that detects dysfunction before it turns into disease. And so think about this. So the scan, you should see nice green bars that are even on both sides. Let me show you what this looks like. So on the left, on your picture there, that's what a scan should look like. The one on the right, healthy or sick? Yeah, so those red bars that look like a Christmas tree, not ideal, right? And so up here, what we find is people who have stress and pressure right up here at where the head meets your neck, right there. If you put your hands right behind your ear, that's the most important bone you have in your entire body. It's called your atlas. Everyone say atlas. Atlas. And so that bone surrounds and protects your brainstem. Damage and pressure up here, sometimes people will get headaches. Sometimes they'll get sleeping problems. Sometimes they get TMJ issues. Dr. So sees that too. And what happens is that these people right here, they're going to have hormone issues over time. This scan detects that. A problem that's been there longer is going to change and have a certain color pattern. But you go down, and these nerves are the ones that feed into her arms, into her shoulders. Down here, these nerves right through here, these are the ones that go into her heart. So when do you think that she would want to know, if she had damaging pressure on the nerves that go to her heart, do you think she'd want to know that at the heart attack or sometime before? Right? So these nerves are the ones that feed into the thyroid. These nerves are the ones that feed into the arms, into the hands. Numbness and tingling into the arms or into the hands or into the legs. Advanced stages of nerve pressure at that point. You've already now lost more than 40% function at that point. If you have that, you say, well, it's just my diabetes. Almost every time you take a scan of somebody's lower back who has diabetes, they also have nerve pressure on the nerves that go down into their legs. It's a combination of the two. These nerves through here, these are the ones that feed into stomach. Some people will get digestive issues. Down here, these are the nerves that feed not only down to the legs and make up your sciatic nerve. Who's heard the word sciatica before, right? So these nerves are the ones that make that up. These nerves are also the ones that feed into female organs, and these are the ones that feed into male organs. Down just a little bit lower right here are the ones that feed into your bladder. So here's the thing. Thank you. Everyone give Madeline a hand. She didn't know I was going to do that. So I want you to play with me for a second. If you had 97% blockage of an artery going to your heart, raise your hand if you'd like to know that. Some of you want to wait for the heart attack. Let's play again. So if you had 97% blockage of an artery going to your heart, raise your hand if you'd want to know that. Okay, great. And now keep your hand raised if you'd want to know if that was a nerve. Okay, so, people say, thank you for the seminar. The seminar is great. The gift is really not just the seminar. The gift is that if you've not had your nervous system checked in the last 3 months, or if you have any of the warning signs, we're going to get this checked for you. And the reality is and I'm going to bring Karen up. Where's Karen? Karen, where are you, Karen? There you are, back there. Come on up. So the reality is that, if you were to walk into the hospital setting, just as an example, you walk into the hospital setting and you get a complete nerve analysis test, and they're checking at every single level the nerves and the functions of the nerves that feed into your organ systems. They also do a follow-up x-ray, which is the second test that I want you to be aware of. They do an x-ray, but not just a medical x-ray. In medicine, I had my first x-ray in medicine. They said, you're fine, no fracture, no break. I'm not going to get into my personal story, but that's what they mean by fine. When they say your spine looks good, no fracture, no break, there's no pathology. What you need to be looking for is the alignment, how those bones have shifted, where the nerves are being damaged, ultimately what organ systems are going to be affected by that. And so if you were to walk into a hospital setting and a doctor was going to measure this down to the millimeter with advanced technology, he's going to spend about a half an hour just with your x-ray. He's going to follow up with you. He's going to go through exactly what the problem is and how to correct your problem. How much would you expect to pay for that in a hospital setting? Let's say they do this testing, which they don't, but let's say they do it. How much would you expect to pay for that visit? Thousands. Yeah, so in our office, that's $220. And I want to highlight Karen because when I first met Karen, I told her she's not going to have to talk. But yeah, okay, chat. Well, then I'll grab the microphone. So when I first met Karen, Karen was on 9 different medications. and she had diagnosed of irritable bowel syndrome. She had low energy. She had what they thought might be rheumatoid arthritis, right? And I actually met Karen at a WTHR Health and Fitness Expo. How many of you have been to that before? So I actually met her out in the community. We do these community events. We come into your workplace. We do health fairs like that. We've been to Karen's workplace, what, 4 or 5 times now? We're going to do a webinar eventually with her entire company around the country. And you know, so I met Karen, and you know, here she was. She was taking a medication. How much were you spending every month on medications?
Probably around $200 out of pocket.
Yeah, $200 out of pocket. I think I turned it off. That's my fault. Or the battery's dead. Let's just find out. No, I turned it off. Test, 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 test. There it is. How much money?
About $200 or so out of pocket.
Yeah, so $200 out of pocket she's spending on medications. Now, how did you feel as you were taking the medications? It's not like you wanted to take those.
No, it was the only way I was functioning.
Right.
Because of the pain and stomach issues, sleeping problems.
Yeah.
Sinus issues.
And I remember you telling me you're just so frustrated because no one had answers to find out what was going on there.
Their answer was the pill.
Right. And so, you know, we meet her at the Health and Fitness Expo. She comes into the office. We do the scans. Hers lights up red like that one. We do x-rays. We find out she has, can I tell them, phase 2 degeneration. She's lost 74% of the curve in her neck. So if you should have a banana-shaped curve like this in the neck, hers was trying to go the opposite direction. 3 phases of arthritis. She's in phase 2. If you get to phase 3, we can't help you. Once it's in phase 2, that problem has been there for at least 20 plus years. And in phase 2, that's been going on for at least 10 to 20 years for her. And so we catch this, and the reality is that she's been to lots of different specialists and doctors, yes, but how many of them really looked at your spine and nervous system like this? Yeah, and so what we did is we saw that, we said that's bad, let's put a plan together, let's correct the underlying cause of this, teach her how to be her own doctor when it comes to this. And that's one of the things that you told me recently. You said, you know, I realized at one point I need to take my health into my own hands. And I think that's something that we all need to understand at this point, is that the greatest doctor in the world lives directly inside of you. That doctor needs no help, just no interference. Remove the interference, let your body function at its best. That's going to be your best ticket to living well, staying well, preventing disease. That's what Karen did. Now, how many medications are you on now?
0.
0 medications. How much weight have you lost? Hang on. How much weight have you lost?
40.
40 pounds. Give her a hand. Any parting words?
Yeah, my biggest thing to give to you is, if you're just starting this program, if you're a guest here and you're thinking about it, it changed my life. But the biggest thing is you really have to give it time. My theory is that it took me decades to get into this shape, and it's going to take me more than 6 months to get out of it.
Yep.
I've been doing this, I've been with Dr. Nick 4 years, actually 4 years now.
Yeah, it is.
Our anniversary.
Hey, anniversary. Yeah.
It is.
I know.
And I'm still on my journey. We're on a journey together, because it takes time to reverse things and to get to where you want to be. And I'm not anywhere near finished.
That's all. Give her a hand. Thank you. So, like I said, the gift is not the seminar. The gift is that if you've not had this checked, we're going to get this checked. Now, I want to say this. Typically, it's $220 for that initial exam consultation with the doctor. You'll meet with Dr. Alcorn first. He'll do all the initial testing, find out what's going on. If we can help you, we're going to let you know that. If we can't, we're going to let you know that too. We're going to be straightforward with you. We're not going to waste your time if you're a guest here today, and I know you're not going to waste ours. But what we are doing, instead of the $220, if you're a guest here today, you've not had this testing done, or you have any of these warning signs, well, then we're doing the full testing instead of the $220 as a seminar pricing. We're doing it for just $88. Now, we're a more active office. Would you all agree with that? We're a more active office, one of the largest natural health and chiropractic centers in the country. So we take $35 today. That holds your appointment time in our office. We block up about an hour of time for you. And when you come in, you'll meet with Dr. Alcorn first. We block off this whole week for just for this group. So we've planned ahead, and we have appointment times ready for you. And now, if you have a yellow folder, hold that up for me because I want to show you something. Yellow folder. You have a yellow folder this morning, wave in the air like you don't care. I had to throw it out there sometime. All right, so in that there is on the front the health survey that you should fill out if you haven't already. On the back, there is this right here. It says the 5 Essentials Examination. Go ahead and take that out. Now, at the top where that says name, go ahead and put your name. I have to detail that out. Someone will forget that and we won't know who you are. Put your name there. Make sure you put your phone number so that we have an ability to contact you and let you know if anything changes with this. And so put your phone number there. If you trust us with your email, we're not going to send you junk, I promise. We don't even have a mailing list at this point, so put your email. We'll be able to send you paperwork easily that way if for some reason you lose the paperwork today. Now here's what you're going to do. You're going to go down, it says circle date and available time. You're going to circle a block of time, 3 blocks of time that work best for you. How many blocks of time? 3 blocks of time that work best for you. So if you are a Monday person and you go into your office, let's say, or your work at 9:30, then you can circle that block. We can get you in and out the door in about 45 minutes to an hour. I would give yourself an hour just to be sure, depending on where you work, but plan for an hour in the door, out the door. You're going to circle 3 blocks. Star the one that works best for you. So star that block that works best for your life. Now, this appointment's for you and your entire family. We can separate the appointments, but if my wife had 97% blockage of a nerve going to her heart, do you think I'd want to know that? Raise your hand if you'd want to know if there's a damage or blockage of a nerve going to your kid's heart. Raise your hand if you'd want to know that. So this appointment's for you and your entire family. Even if they're not here, we're still honoring the $88 each. So someone in your household that you know needs to be checked, write them down. They don't have to schedule today, but we can write them down and block that off for them. They can still get the seminar rate of the $88. So put those where it says, please list everyone you will be scheduling for evaluation. If you have a spouse, put your spouse's name and his or her date of birth. Now, I want to say this because, you know, we're doing this seminar. You know, don't make the appointment just because we're hosting the seminar. And the girls are going to come around as I do this, as I talk about this. But it's not like that. Our mission is to get this message out to as many people as humanly possible. And the reality is that if we don't speak up, you know, who's going to speak up? You know, when they go into their, let's say, regular life, do you think people are talking like this or communicating in this way? No. So if we don't speak up and we tell people about this, then I don't know who's going to. And the reality is, I was watching the Titanic. How many of you have seen the movie Titanic? Yeah. So, you know, you watch the movie Titanic and the ship goes down, the people are in the water. Do you remember this part? The people are in the water, and you know, here they are, the lifeboats were only half full, yet there was all these people that were in the water crying out for help. And this is the way that I view healthcare, is that there are people in the water, they're sick, they're suffering, we're the ones that are in the boat, they're on medications, we know the truth, we know the lifeboat, we have a life raft. What's the number one thing we need to do is what? Throw them a line. We've got to throw them a line to tell them that this is the right way. There is absolute truth when it comes to health, and you need to get in the boat. We can help you with this. But to try to get this message out to people and you to try to communicate the last 3 hours worth of information to them, either they won't listen or it won't work. And so what we find is the best way to do that is either bring us in, and what we'll do is we talk to your group, your family, your church, whatever it is, your business. Talisha and I just did a church, or not a church talk, it was an in-home church talk. Are you guys here today? Dean, are you here? Yeah, so there was like 7 people there, and we went in and we just had a little whiteboard and had a conversation. It's as easy as that. But if you know somebody, how many of you are thinking of at least one person that needed to hear this information today? Raise your hand if you were thinking of somebody. Okay, raise your hand if you're thinking of at least one person that you wished could have listened to what we talked about and needed to show up today. Raise your hand real high. Okay, so, you know, sometimes I feel like it's very difficult to get this message out to people when it's one person trying to do all of it. Does that make sense? And I'm going to get on the radio, we're doing the seminars, we're doing everything we can, but I am actually asking for your help right now to reach those people. There's people who are close to you and far from health, and the only way I'm going to get to them is through you. So I'm asking you, there's people in your life, and what I do know this is that as you begin to change, people around you are going to start to notice you changing. And they're going to ask you questions about what you're doing. And they're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I noticed you lost weight. Hey, I noticed you have more energy. You're not doing the coffee anymore. I noticed that you're not in pain. You're not on the medications anymore. And they start to come to you, sometimes quietly in the corner at a party because they won't do it at first. but they come to you and they ask you, hey, what are you doing? And then as you speak up, what happens is your circle of influence start to change. And then you do it over here, and then you do it over here. And what happens is that as we begin to change, people around us start to change, and this is how we change healthcare. This is how we change humanity. If you want to be a part of something that changes the planet, this is how we do it. It's not going to come from a policy or president. It's going to come from the fact that we speak up on a grassroots level, and we just care enough to say something. And so in your side of your packet that you were given when you came in today, there is a sheet in there that's called a lifesaver sheet. And on that sheet, there is a section that asks, who else do you need to know, or there it is, transform somebody else's life today. Everyone should have gotten this one. So go ahead and raise it up for me so I know you got it. Okay, so transform somebody else's life today. So here's the thing is that the people that you know and love that you care about, you're thinking of right now, maybe it's a church talk that you want us to come in and speak to your group or your church. Maybe it's you want me to come in and talk to your business and do a lunch and learn. Write down that information there, and we're going to follow up with you. Even if you're not the decision maker, so you say, my pastor has to approve this, well, write your name and information there, and we're going to contact you, and we're going to help to schedule that. If you're a long-term patient of mine, and also you've been, in the office and you've seen success in your health and your life, let's do this. Let's do this together. Bring us in, we'll do it. And I really don't care how far it is. We're going to figure it out, and we'll go. So some of you I know are in Greenwood, we'll figure it out. But write down the information, and we will. We have the margin right now to figure that out. So, for every name or group that you write down on here, anyone who has, what we're doing is we're doing a raffle for the nutrition. Who saw Madeline at the table for the nutrition and the MaxLiving Health coaching? So what we're doing is we're actually giving away a package of health coaching for whoever writes down the most names on here or the most groups. Now, am I trying to bribe you to get more names? Yeah. Yep, absolutely I am. Yeah, we want to reach more people, so help us. And so, however many names you write down there, we'll look at that. Here's what we're going to do. Do that right now. I'm going to do the should ask questions, which is the questions that I believe you should ask, because I get frequently asked questions, and sometimes those are weird. So I'm going to do the should ask questions. And as I'm doing that, go ahead and fill that out. And we're all going to pass ours to the middle aisle once you do that. So you can tear off this sheet of paper, boom, pull it off, pass it to the middle aisle. Even if yours is blank, pass it in. We'll reuse it. Thank you. Now, I do want to say this with the SAQs. Some of the questions that I most commonly get is, and I got them at break too, is I want to get my levels tested. Maybe you're talking about vitamin D. Maybe you're talking about triglycerides. I want to get my levels tested. How do I do that? One of the best ways to do that is go to the places where you can just walk in without a referral. Who's been to Anytime LabCorp? Anybody been to there? Yeah, so you can walk in without a referral. You can get your vitamin D levels tested. And that way, as you start to take your vitamin D with the probiotics, you can see how it's raising, and you can know about how much is right for you specifically. And as Madeline meets with you, if you're doing the health coaching, she'll help you through some of that as well. But Anytime LabCorp, there's so many different versions of that now. You can just Google that, and they'll show up. They're in Greenwood. They're in Carmel. There's several different locations. Another question that I get is, I had a lady that asked me if insurance pays for vitamin D supplementation. So no, they don't. In fact, actually, I want to say this because some insurers will pay for you to get it over the counter. You've had this before, like vitamin D2, and it's like 40,000 units at a time. What happens is that's a synthetic vitamin. It means that was made in a chemistry lab. And that's not going to act as if you're getting sunshine or from food. It's going to artificially stimulate your liver to produce a certain enzyme that'll look like your blood chemistry looks good, but is not producing health and is not producing the outcome that you're trying to get with vitamin D. So it needs to be from a whole food source, ideally. And does insurance pay for it? No. Insurance actually says in Medicare's guidelines, we don't cover services that prevent disease, promote health, or enhance the quality of life. That's Medicare. All the other companies follow Medicare's guidelines. So if you're going to get healthy, that's not an insurance job responsibility. Who's got to be responsible for that? You do. And in the same vein, people say, well, I think my insurance covers some chiropractic or something like that. They might participate a little bit. Bring your card in with you. That first visit is a cash visit, and we'll verify benefits. If it helps you a little bit, great. But if not, we try to make our care is cost affordable for whole families. We see whole families in our office, and we try to make it affordable for entire families to be able to get care. So bring your card if you have it. We'll look and verify it just as a complimentary service. But at the end of the day, most of them don't. They don't help. And at the end of the day, who's really responsible for our health? It's got to be who? It's got to be us. Another question that I typically get is about toxicity. How do I know the mercury fillings that I have in my mouth? You know, what do I do about that? I've heard that this is very toxic. It's leaching chemicals into my body at all times. Well, that's exactly why we have partners in our community, and Dr. So is a great partner for that. And she's going to be able to tell you and look in your mouth. How many of you know right now you have metal in your mouth? Right? And so that is leaching, and if you look at the research, goes up into your brain. And so that is going to cause a level of toxicity and brain toxicity over time. So you want to make sure that stuff, there is a plan of attack to get that stuff out of your system. So Dr. So can help you with that. That's why we have the partners in our community. Last question that we typically have is about nutrition. And I don't know where to start. Anybody been there? So much, I don't know where to start. So here's my recommendation to you. Start with breakfast. Start with breakfast. Change breakfast first. What we find is that as you start your day off the right way, what we find is that the rest of the day falls in line if you start your day off the right way. What happens though, when we start our day off with a croissant, or with a bagel, or with a Pop-Tart, Dr. Alcorn with the Gatorade, right? It's so much easier to then at lunch, you're like, okay, what do I eat now? Drive-through. And we justify it by calling it Chick-fil-A. They're Christians, it's got to be good. No, no, still a drive-through. It's bad fats, you know. So start your breakfast off the right way. Some people will say, I just don't eat breakfast. I can't eat that early. It's just whatever. I have my coffee and I get going. Okay, well, the first meal of the day, let's not be technical. The first meal of the day. Now, if you're on the go and you're on the road a lot, how many of you travel quite a bit? Yeah, and so there's usually about 10% of us travel quite a bit. And so here's what you do. You plan ahead when you travel. You have to. And if you're traveling within the state and you're going back home at night, then one of the best things to do that I found is get a little mason jar, like one of those ball mason jars, put some Max Greens or some protein or a combination of both in that, and then you just get some water, add water, shake it up, and there's your meal replacement. You can add some fiber if you really feel necessary, but that's an easy way to not go through a drive-through. There's certain standards that you should have for yourself. We call these minimum standards. These minimum standards you have to set for yourself. One of the minimum standards that I have is that I don't eat food from a gas station. It's just, if I fill my car up there, I'm not eating food there, It's just like where I fill up my car is not where I fill my body. And so the minimum standard, the other minimum standard is I don't go through drive-thrus. I don't go through drive-thrus. And that doesn't mean I go in. It's just like if that place has a window, I just don't go there, right? Because at the end of the day, most of that is fairly toxic. It's going to be bad for me. And it really takes me away from purpose. At the end of the day, I think that's what we all want. I think we want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, leave some level of legacy. But I do want to challenge you on what that means to leave a legacy. It has nothing to do with finances. Do you know before this talk, I was on the phone with one of my friends. He also is a MaxLiving doctor in Grand Rapids. And I had a conversation with him, and I said, if we die tomorrow, let's say after our talk, our kids, the only thing that they're going to have left of us is that video recording of us. And so for this talk, I'm giving this one to Isaiah, because I want him to go back and I want him to see who his dad was and that he told the truth and he told it like it was. And so, that to me is legacy. It's not about money in the bank. It's about legacy of who we really are and the decisions that we're making for our kids, for future generations. Even if you're a grandparent right now, you still have the chance to build a legacy of who you are and who you became. And we all become something, and we are all becoming something. And I think if you really look at the next 10 years of your life and you look at where you want to go, you can make a decision today to move in the right direction instead of the wrong one. Move in the direction of health, wellness, vitality, making great decisions for you and your family, making great decisions for yourself, and you set up that next generation to do the exact same. That's called standing on the shoulders of giants, and you can be that giant. And my encouragement to you is to start walking in that, accept that for who you are, start seeing yourself differently. When you look in the mirror, see yourself as a giant. Don't see yourself as the person who failed in the past, but the person who's pursuing greatness. At the end of the day, I think that's what we all want. So Dr. Alcorn's going to come up. I'm done up here. He's going to do the raffle. Stick around for the raffle, because at this raffle, he's going to be giving away some fun stuff. One is this giant Ninja. Anybody seen that? It's a Ninja blender. Yeah, he's giving that away. So everyone got entered in that as you came in.
This Dr. Scott's my Vanna White. That's what Nick just said. Let's give it up. Okay, so first of all, we want to say thank you to our vendors who are here: Young Living, Authentic Wellness, Costco, MaxLiving Family Dentistry, Royal Queen Cookware, and Tower Garden. We really appreciate you guys for being here, so thank you. Yeah. So the first one we're going to give away is a free 1-hour infrared sauna session with Authentic Wellness. That is ticket number 106. 106. Have to be present to win. We went through this last time. Anybody got 106?
Bingo.
Winner, Donna. Round of applause. Okay. Okay, next is the Young Living package. Essential oils and a informational DVD. That is number 234. 234, Young Living. All right. Get it right there. Next is Royal Queen Cookware stainless steel cookware. Beautiful. Cake pan and pizza tray. And that is 019. Whoa. Next is this beautiful package from MaxLiving Family Dentistry. Number 201. 201. Psych. 201. Does anybody have 201? No? Next. 302. 302. 302. All right. Congratulations. Nice catch. Okay, the next two had already previously been drawn. This is the Perfect Plant Protein. Winner is Trudy McMasters. Trudy, where are you, Trudy? There you are. I told you not to go far. Okay, and the Ninja 4-in-1 system. One great way to make your smoothies in the morning, but lots of other great ways to make delicious, healthy food. That winner is Marta McCoy. Congratulations, Marta. There she is. Congrats. Okay, guys, big takeaway is make sure that you don't walk out of here without a next step. All right, that's the whole reason that we do this, is that you take away at least one actionable step from your time here today. Not everybody's going to have the same one, but one actionable step that you're going to take on your path to wellness. Stop by our Next Steps table. It's in the back. Come join us at our detox project that's going to be following our grand opening on June 18th in our brand new office. Woo! We are pumped. It's coming. We'll tell you where it is. It's one major intersection to the east on 86th and Ditch. Join us with our summer shape, the 30-day challenge. Join us with the challenge. Get your chiro appointment set. Get your nervous system checked, guys. One actionable step.